Higher in fiscal year 2027. Congress needs to extend and increase that funding to ensure firefighters have all the resources they need to respond to the ever-growing threat of wildfires. I'll close by reiterating what I said at the outset. Disasters do not distinguish between red states and blue states. And when it comes to disaster aid, neither should Congress. So thank you again for holding this hearing and allowing me to be a voice for my constituents and for disaster survivors across the country. I look forward to working with this committee to ensure that everyone has the resources and support that they need to recover and rebuild, regardless of which state they call home. Thank you very much.
I appreciate the testimony of the entire panel as we consider the supplemental submitted by the administration. Your testimony is very helpful to us. Thank you. I will now ask that our second panel of witnesses come forward.
Oh, weird. It's this ugly. Yeah, old. Yeah, we know about her, right? We know about Susan Collins. What up, everybody? Hello, hello. Where's my headset? What did I do with stuff? Hello, you guys. Check into the stream. We got live news coverage already right off the bat. Perfect timing, too. It's the thing that's just started. Skeet Hegseth is going in. It's just getting started. Got tornado watch in the area?
Well, leave it to our military witness to be on time.
And Skeet Hegseth, not on time. Check in, you guys. Check in. Hello from Nova Scotia.
While we are waiting for our second panel to be seated, let me introduce them. We are joined today by the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane. These administration officials represent the largest components of the administration's request, and we welcome them to the committee today.
Do we, Susan?
Secretary Hegseth, we will begin with your testimony. Please proceed.
Well, Chair Collins, Vice Chair Murray, members of the Senate Committee on Appropriations, thank you for the opportunity to testify on President Trump's supplemental funding request for the Department of War. As you know, we live in
a
more money world that requires bold and swift action. Hence, this supplemental request for fiscal year 2026. This request is an urgent, necessary injection of resources to address the immediate needs of our department. The supplemental funding request is not a substitute.
The witness will suspend until order is restored in the
heckler
room. I know
based
that
heckler
individuals feel very passionately, but we must have order in the hearing room so that we can proceed. We're now going to move forward with our hearing, and Secretary Hegseth, please proceed.
Thank you.
She's so old.
The supplemental funding request is not a substitute for the president's full $1.5 trillion base budget request. $1.5 trillion.
Nice. Hell yeah. Based.
Mr. Secretary, please suspend until order is restored in the hearing room.
Good.
We will begin the
like, if you are so old to the point where you can't talk without, like, moving, you should not be in politics and leadership at all. With her fucking chain necklace, what is that?
Thank you.
Please proceed.
Why is she wearing a chain necklace?
Is what the president seeks and what we need to defend the country. The members of this committee understand better than most that long-term strategic dominance cannot be funded
another one.
through one-off supplementals.
Oh, yeah.
We will have order in the hearing room. Mr. Secretary, please proceed.
Collectively, the budget proposals submitted under President Trump follow a simple logic.
Nice. Don't even let him talk. Let's go. Hopefully the whole room stands up. Fuck this guy.
I would ask that the Capitol Police, whose professionalism I admire, remove those who are seeking to disrupt the hearing.
Why are you shaking your head no then?
President Trump's following a simple logic. The military requires a generational investment to deliver on peace through strength. We know the best way to create peace is to prepare for war, to deter it.
Prepare
And
for
that's
war.
exactly what the Department of War is doing, building a force so capable that it would be absurd for anyone to challenge it. As the direct result of neglect.
Guys, let's be, hey, mods, we need to calm down on deleting comments. Can we not do that?
Left over from the previous administration, President Trump inherited a set of global and domestic crises, deferred maintenance almost across the board. Instead of steering the ship through gathering storms, former leaders let our military languish through social experiments and globalist appeasement, sheer weakness. Under President Trump, we have built a different type of department. The Pentagon is no longer run by bureaucrats.
Yeah, I'll help you out.
Instead, it's led by combat-tested veterans and world-class business leaders who are running the department like a business. And
Yeah,
tech
like a
titans
business.
Who are bringing lethal innovation to the battlefield.
Just saying nothing.
We're also at a different moment, and we cannot afford inaction. If we don't make critical investments right now in tech, in compute, in AI, in autonomy, in space, our adversaries who are already making these types of investments could outpace us. Without these funds, we face critical shortfalls that threaten our ability to also simply pay our service members, rapidly replenish equipment and munitions, and sustain vital operations without disruption. This supplemental request serves two purposes: sustain our military readiness to meet this year's new demands, and accelerate critical capabilities to replace and augment those we have used in contingencies. But make no mistake, this is not a one-for-one replacement. We are upgrading and we are modernizing across the force. On the readiness front, we requested $21 billion. This will fund military pay, replace much of the equipment utilized during recent operations, sustain forward deployed forces, and grow personnel and strength while stabilizing mission-critical fueled shortfalls and supporting the National Guard. On the capabilities side, we requested $46 billion. These funds will expand production lines and accelerate delivery of high-demand munitions.
Yeah, we have all the money for all this bullshit, but not anything for
hypersonics and counter drones.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah. We have nothing for healthcare, nothing for infrastructure.
Space dominance, including resilient satellite networks. Department leadership recognizes that appropriating those funds is just the first step. Once funds are appropriated, or apportioned, to the department, we need to promptly execute on them. And that's why we're requesting targeted legislative authorities, like transfer authority, to prioritize our greatest needs and opportunities.
Transfer authority.
Multi-year procurement for weapon systems, revolutionizing the speed and scale of munitions procurement, and New START authorities. Rest assured that every dollar appropriated to the Department of War will be focused on building the lethality of our joint force and reinforcing peace through strength.
Yeah, whatever.
As I have said before, not fully funding this department, the Department of War, and we know what that means, that means $1.5 trillion, given the world that we live in and the disaster of what the Biden administration budgets gave us. Not funding this department at $1.5 trillion, I believe, is the greatest threat that our nation faces.
Well, when Biden was president, no, it was, oh my God, what a bunch of fake people. Bro, I'm so sick of fake people.
Change on the battlefield and growing threats.
So many people are so fucking fake in this.
We'll
get to that too with Laura Loomer later.
Those funds so that our warfighters can continue to do their work every day to keep our great republic safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. General Kane.
Collins, Vice Chair Murray, distinguished members of this committee, I'm honored today to appear before
I already
you,
need a safety
Secretary
meeting.
Hegseth and Secretary Rollins to testify on the Department of War's fiscal 2026 supplemental funding request. And I'll note I fondly remember my time at USDA earlier in my career where I had the chance to serve there. I'm also joined today by my senior enlisted advisor, SEAC Dave Isom. As always, I'm deeply grateful for this committee's continued partnership and support for our common defense. I'd like to begin by expressing my deep condolences and that of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the SEAC for the fallen from this past weekend and their families.
Yeah, right. You don't
Today,
care.
we remember First Lieutenant Tyler Feehan, Sergeant Michael Swinton, and Private Isabel Gonzalez, and note that the names of our last fallen will be released when we can. I'm humbled daily by the profound commitment of the incredible 2.8 million Americans just like these.
We're losing soldiers that are sitting
Make up our
still.
joint force and serve our nation
It's like,
every day.
it'd be honorable if soldiers were losing their life because America was invaded and they had to defend our country actually. We're sitting in the richest fucking Gulf states in the Middle East, bombing Iran, and then our soldiers are dying because they're sitting at those bases just fucking taking rocket fire.
For his 44 years of service.
Because we're at war with Iran, and then they want to like pretend like they
There is
care.
no
They don't give a
doubt he
fuck.
made a difference to the safety and security of our nation.
They don't care about the military or the soldiers.
July 22nd, 1940, General George C. Marshall said, and I quote, "For almost 20 years, we had all of the time and almost none of the money. Today, we have all of the money and no time."
Wow. Oh, ooh.
Resonate
Do
powerfully
they?
with me today as we find ourselves in a somewhat similar situation.
Do they?
I've come to you today to request the necessary funds while in the window of opportunity, while time is still on our side. The United States of America faces a global list of military challenges.
Do we?
In the Middle East, in Europe.
Yo,
in
Europe
the
now.
Pacific,
Oh, we can say Europe now?
nuclear and
It's because Laura Loomer's
non-nuclear
there.
Challenges and the continued threat of terrorism.
Yeah, now you guys know why Laura Loomer's there. I'm going to cook so many pro-Ukrainian accounts in a bit.
And dynamic times. Our adversaries are aligning in their interests, creating simultaneous challenges across multiple domains. They are sharing intelligence, combat capabilities, and technology that is accelerating the speed of war. It is an imperative that Americans understand that the character of war is changing. Advances in technology are fundamentally and irreversibly changing the way we fight, which necessitates capital to properly arm America's military.
What do you fucking
Rapid
mean?
Advancements in AI, autonomous systems, deliver critical technological advantages to our national defense and simultaneously introduce unprecedented strategic vulnerabilities and uncertainty across the world, to include right here at home. The low barrier to entry created by affordable, ubiquitous, unmanned systems means our adversaries, rogue actors, state and non-state actors, and violent extremists have access to disruptive and potentially lethal technologies at scale. We've seen this in Ukraine, and we must adopt elements of this fight for our future fights.
Oh,
Conflict
have we?
is never confined neatly to the land, sea, or air domains. The modern battlefield stretches from the seabed up to cislunar space and beyond, cyberspace, and in the information domain, all at the same time. Our nation must be prepared to fight and win across all of them, all the time, all at once. In addition, the light speed at which information travels now has compressed our leaders' decision space, taking what was once days or weeks in World War II down to milliseconds. Your joint force must be ready because the United States military is America's greatest insurance policy. And I acknowledge all of us find it difficult at times to pay for insurance before we need it.
Wow.
But we must have insurance.
What a way to put
before the
that.
storm comes.
Wow, before the
The
storm.
armed forces of the United States
This guy's
of
such a
America
fucking
serves
clown.
as our nation's ultimate safeguard, and our insurance policy
This guy's a wordsmith.
preserve, protect and defend our national interests, security, and prosperity. To uphold this responsibility, we require predictable and consistent funding. This will allow us to partner effectively with our defense and national industrial bases, building on acquisition reforms that guarantee our warfighters receive capabilities at scale before they are required in conflict or combat. I'm struck by this season of American history we find ourselves in, and I continue to ask myself, if not now, then when?
Shut up.
And if not us in this room and the rest of the Congress and
Then
the
who?
nation, then who?
Exactly.
I
Say the
acknowledge
fucking
the
stupid words.
environment we all serve
Oh
in,
my God.
But always remember that we are all Americans with deep and abiding love of our nation. I've come today to ask for your help and your support. America's armed forces need $1.5 trillion to meet the
We need
military
1.5 trillion.
This supplemental is a part of that, and to be allowed to use this capital to pay for military personnel, operations and maintenance expenses, and accelerate investments on critical technologies, as the Secretary just mentioned. It is critical that we stay ahead of our adversaries, and we must have the funds before we're out of time. In closing, I ask all of us to remember our deployed service members around the world right now, especially our
Holy
Army teammates who
gaslight.
remain deployed.
Holy
after
gaslight.
losing their friends and teammates.
Yeah, you lost. You got him killed. You did
And I
that.
again ask all of us here in the Senate and across the American people.
Trump got
to
him
never
killed.
Forget our fallen and
Yeah.
their families.
Yeah, go
who
fuck
continue
yourself.
To show us what courage, tenacity,
Oh
grit,
my God.
and commitment to the nation. looks
Shut
like.
up.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to your
What a
questions.
what a fucking loser.
Thank you, General. Secretary Rose.
No respect for that fucking
Thank
loser.
you so much,
And then what's the point of this lady here? Agriculture lady? Why?
And distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. Let me begin with the bottom line up front. The United States Department of Agriculture is joining today the United States Department of
Yeah,
War
well, that why?
in a fight for America and
Really?
for American flourishing.
Wow.
After all,
For America,
defending
guys.
America's ability to feed and fuel and clothe herself is defending America, full stop.
What does that
This can
mean?
be easily forgotten. For centuries, we built farms and ranches and transportation that fed not only America, but the world.
What are you going to have the military do it
For a
now?
long time, that prosperity made America strong and made America safe.
Wow.
But across the past 100 years, and especially across the last administration, we took that source of strength in war and peace, our farms and our ranches, and the communities that surrounded
For
them,
granted.
and we hollowed them out. We made them weak, and we put them on the precipice of decline.
Because we're selling it out to fucking foreign corporations. That's why.
Production overseas. In fact, 2023 was for the first time a
You
significant.
can count on your hand how many actually family farms there are. They're all
And in
corporate
so
owned.
doing, we replaced American production with massive amounts of imports. We allowed and even encouraged the consolidation of agriculture, seed production, processing, fertilizer, and beyond into massive industries at scale. Today, nearly 85% of our meat packing capacity is controlled by just 4 companies, including 2 that are foreign-owned. Additionally, our largest pork company in America is owned by a China company, or China. 4 fertilizer companies now represent 78% of the production versus just a couple of decades ago, that was in the dozens. And 2 seed companies now produce more than 50% of the seed for America. These are national security
So you're
implications.
anti-monopoly and
President Trump returned to
capitalism?
office, America's farm economy faced one of the most difficult economic environments in decades. Between 2020 and 2025, the cost of seed rose 19%, crop protection rose 30%, fertilizer rose over 50%, fuel and oils rose nearly 33%, electricity 36%, and repair and maintenance 27%.
That's all really
As
bad.
these costs climbed, commodity prices plummeted. Farm income fell by more than $90 billion from 2023 to 2024, representing one of the largest single-year declines in history. At the same time, producers saw not one new trade deal across the world, resulting in an unprecedented
Oh my God.
agricultural trade deficit.
This is the gaslight part.
American farmers
Some of that money will come to the agriculture.
demands it. As long as we are beholden to foreign
That's how they're gonna. We gotta protect the farms, so we had to get the 1.5 billion to the military.
Since my first day at USDA, we have been committed to addressing this crisis head on.
That's
In
what this
addition to
is.
Implementing the historic
That's
working
insane.
families tax cuts, thanks to so many in this room who worked so hard, moving $40 billion in disaster and economic assistance to producers
Agriculture
across the
bombs,
country,
guys.
securing 19
We gotta bomb kids
trade
for the
deals
cows.
and decreasing that $50 billion agricultural trade deficit in 1 year.
We keep selling our farms out to China. That's not gonna stop.
This year, our corn exports are expected to be at a record-breaking 35%. Ethanol
Wow.
up 11%, dairy
Wow.
up 15%, and tree nuts up 11%. We are making progress, but we have a ways to go. Administrator Zeldin has secured the strongest renewable fuel standard volumes in history, and the president continues to support year-round E15 for our domestic markets. We have led robust responses
Trump
to
fixed it.
including HPAI and the New World Screwworm, and have reduced unnecessary regulatory burdens and partnered with producers to strengthen the domestic demand for American agriculture. These are lasting reforms and will change the trajectory of American agriculture for the future. The trade agreements will take time to fully execute and generate even more.
What is your point?
The biofuel investments take time to increase. The
What are you
demand
asking
American
for?
Crops,
Hurry
although
up.
we're already seeing a 10% increase since just an announcement a month ago. And of course, onshoring facilities like
Sounds like you don't need
fertilizer
any money. Trump
will
fixed everything,
continue
right?
to take some time to build out. But we are confident that the direction of American agriculture is changing for the better. But many producers continue to face economic pressure as we build that economic infrastructure.
Blah, blah, blah. What do you want?
Specialty crop growers across the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, the Pacific Northwest, and Florida suffered devastating freeze losses this past winter. Producers across the plains continue recovering from catastrophic wildfire and events.
This is why we need to build farms in Israel. That's what she'll say some shit like that or something.
That is why our proposal includes $10 billion in temporary economic assistance for 2026 row crop and specialty crop producers, and also includes $1.1 billion to help producers recover from catastrophic freeze
It's part of this fucking bill.
this past winter. Congress has taken similar action over many decades.
need it through the
and we're so
military
grateful for
bill?
that, but including most recently 2023 and 2024.
The same
with
fucking-
economic aid and disaster relief aid with the hurricane seasons. I want to be 100% clear as I close. For the sake of American national security, American existence, and the American future, we must, in the long run, end this system that has grown up like a weed and strangled the American farmland and food production. Farmers want to farm for their products, not for a government check.
For
They
their
want to be free
products?
from dependency and free to innovate. We know what happens when
What
they
the
are able
fuck?
to
Do you
that.
even
They
talk-
build and
what?
feed the greatest republic in the history of man. But when they aren't, well, we know the danger that we are in today. But that's why this
Have
supplemental
you even
is
talked to a
important.
farmer in your fucking
Provides a
life?
bridge and extends a hand to Americans who need it.
Yeah, totally.
It buys the nation the security.
First thing that you go into a farm is they want to show you their products. They usually have names
A
too.
new system, putting our farmers and ranchers first.
Holy
and to
shit.
restore the system that originally made America great. For our farmers, the defense of American freedom continues. They only ask to be free to fight. Thank you
Wow,
so much.
free to fight. Go fuck
Thank
yourself
you for
too.
your testimony. We will now for our witnesses. As you can see,
I don't want to hear Susan Collins. Really quick. The same Republicans that will cry, bitch, and moan when there's a bill that will address multiple issues like health care, housing, and blah, 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 right? They'll say there's pork in it. They haven't read the bill, blah, blah, blah. A bunch of fucking dumb fucks. And then when Republicans take power, they're going to put agriculture money in the military spending. Oh my God, bro. I'm so sick of American politics. I hope it all fucking burns. I don't give a fuck.
conduct of operations.
You know what? American politics all around deserve to fucking burn down. Actually, you know what? January 6th in 2021, MAGA, that was an alley-oop. Actually, fuck this entire thing.
Requirements. facing the
Good job,
department
MAGA.
that affect the
I'm no longer mad
ability
about January
of
6th
our
anymore.
military to deter
Hey, bro.
and defend against potential aggression worldwide.
Send the mindless ones at it first.
Portions of the supplemental request go toward
Oh my
paying
God.
these bills and are necessary to
my
restore
God.
readiness, repair, or replace battle
We'll put agriculture money in the military bill. We love that.
and address
Holy fuck.
urgent
I'm smoking
munitions
more.
challenges.
This is
I
insane.
understand and am told that some military services face near-term solvency challenges.
Holy shit.
What will be the impact on our troops if additional funding is not provided?
Wow.
Are there military
With her chain, what is she's wearing? A chain necklace.
that
Who
are
does
at
that?
risk of cancellation? What
Like
message
a
will
chain,
you
like
be
literally.
sending to the world? Secretary Hegseth, either you or Senator or General Kane.
ICE probably gave it to her.
Chairwoman, I very much appreciate that question, and it's because it's connected to the real-world realities of this budget cycle. There is training right now and training in the future that would have to be curtailed if we do not get our budget needs met and met urgently. And yes, some of that has to do with the current budget cycle and how things come together. But we are a department that for 4 years met funding shortfalls under the previous administration. It was not a priority to fund the Department of Defense under Joe Biden. It also took the munitions.
Okay.
There were 5 supplementals out of this committee that took munitions one for one and sent them to Ukraine and had tried to replace them with the same bureaucratic process.
Damn, do we support Ukraine or not?
And then there were
Fucking
arrests
general
on the
does.
board around the world. So you're looking at a lot of negligence.
Pete
and a
Hegseth
lot
is
of
still in the Russian propaganda part. He hasn't caught up to Laura Loomer yet.
catch up on. And so that's why I call this a generational investment. It truly is. This is $1.5 trillion budget with this supplemental
clown
being
government.
part of it, is how we catch up and get ahead.
Right.
And ensure in the process we're putting.
I thought we're always ahead under Trump, though, aren't we?
First, Marines first, Guardians. That they're paying
Guardians.
the end strength increases
playing
that have gone
Destiny.
up because recruiting is at historic levels are fully funded. So rather than trying to play catch up and make sure we're not losing training, we should be ahead of that curve.
Wow.
And that's where we think 1.5 trillion can get us.
That's so pathetic. That's so pathetic.
Senator Kane, Senator, I keep calling you Senator, General Kane, I'm going to.
You're too old.
Ask you to
Old.
respond for the record because.
Don't know if you're a general or a senator.
I do want to ask Secretary Rollins.
You guys think Susan Collins knows where she's at?
Secretary Rollins, as we heard from the previous panel, our country has many outstanding recovery needs from disasters and other weather-related events over the past 2 years.
She brought a graph.
As this chart shows, and this is a chart from your department, many have unmet weather-related agricultural
The Democrats
losses.
did it.
In Maine, many
Yep.
of our producers
Yep.
are
The Democrat
struggling
weather machine.
amid a combination of market volatility and disaster.
So now we have to
conditions
help
last year,
because the
which
Democrats
included
and their weather machine.
excessive rainfall in the spring.
That's right.
Followed by a severe drought. They need relief. Yet the administration's supplemental request does not include funding to address these recovery needs.
For sure.
It does have $1.1 billion to help Florida agricultural producers rebound from a severe.
Look at Blue State,
freeze
Minnesota.
this winter, but nothing for
And
prior
Wisconsin.
disasters in other states. Can you explain USDA's thinking behind focusing your request just on the 2026 freeze rather than on the 2025 disaster declarations that you made?
Did you guys listen to a podcast with Susan Collins and RFK
Senator, thank you
Jr.?
for that question.
Holy fuck.
Obviously, the discussions that went on over at OMB
So many
and with our
sounds.
teams continue, but what I will say is we are obviously 100% in support of any sort of disaster relief program for our
Oh, you
farmers,
are now.
whether it's hurricane, tornado.
Only if they
drought,
support Trump.
freeze, et cetera. So look forward to working with you on that.
Better
and
make sure you have your
specifically
Trump signs
understanding the
out
larger
if you want some
context here.
disaster relief.
There's a lot of farmers, a lot of producers who are really hurting, not just in Florida and not
Better
just from
put
the
Trump
freeze.
2028
So it's
outside or
important
something,
we
or
work together.
you're not getting shit.
Thank you. Senator Murray.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Chair Collins.
Wow.
Secretary Hegseth.
We get
your
some real
project
questions soon?
Received $150 billion last year in the
Damn.
Republicans' Big Beautiful Bill.
Yeah, what
It
the
also
fuck?
received a record $839 billion for fiscal year 2026, more money than you asked for last year. Combined, that is a $1 trillion budget for the year, and as I already mentioned, your department has yet to spend half of the reconciliation funds. And despite that, you are here today asking for tens of billions of dollars more for things that you've already asked for in your FY27 request or that have nothing to do with Iran. This administration has tried to sell this as an emergency request, but it may be better understood as an attempt to skirt the normal appropriations process. Here are just a few of the things requested in this Iran supplemental. $800 million for the National Guard to patrol D.C. even longer. Over $1 billion for the Army to patrol the southern border, which is DHS's job. $900 million to support the administration's illegal boat strikes in the Caribbean. Over $18 billion for munitions, which you've already requested in your—
You hear all the money we've already given them?
Request. And $1.7 billion to pay for your decision to recruit more people than the services need, which was not contemplated by the FY26 funding bill Congress recently passed. Now, you've already submitted a reprogramming request on this that our subcommittee is considering now, which really underscores the point I made in my opening remarks that the problem is not a lack of money, but poor planning. So I'll be blunt. The truth is your request does not make a lot of sense. So let me ask you a simple question. Why exactly are billions of dollars more for the National Guard and this administration's illegal strikes in the Caribbean urgently needed for the Iran war?
Ooh.
Well, Senator, I wouldn't, of course, agree with your characterization.
Of course
why
not.
this kind of spending
That's
is
the
needed
truth.
Because of the gross negligence and neglect of the Biden administration.
Biden did it. Yeah.
Like a bureaucracy.
Biden did it, you guys.
Abandoned our strength posture around the world, so we're having to reestablish deterrence. You mentioned the end strength numbers, and I will acknowledge that we are ahead of schedule on end strength in recruiting. 8,000 in the Navy, 6,000 in the Army, 4,000 in the Air Force. Because under President Trump, there's been record and historic over 30-year recruiting records inside our department since he won the election, because the American people didn't want to sign up for what Joe Biden was providing our military.
Let me
and
be
they
blunt.
want to sign up for what President Trump is doing in his leadership. And so those are good problems to have that we need to fund and a reflection of momentum. And this budget will allow us to continue the kind of momentum that gets us ahead.
My point is that a lot of this request does not feel like an emergency. And let me move on.
Ooh.
Secretary Hegseth,
Got
like
him.
most Americans, I've had a lot of trouble following this administration's contradictory statements about the war. On April 8th, you said, and I quote, "Their missile program is functionally destroyed, launchers, production facilities, and existing stockpiles depleted and decimated and almost completely ineffective." Mr. Secretary, Iran has been firing at U.S. military bases in the region and its ships for the last week. How is it possible, if their capabilities were, quote, functionally destroyed 3 months earlier, it should be for them to be doing this now?
Oof.
Senator, Iran is at the weakest point militarily
is it?
been in,
Right.
in the past decade.
Sure looks like it.
Maybe
for
in
sure.
37 years, as they've gathered effectively a terror army. And that terror army
a terror army.
create conventional capabilities to defend against a pursuit of nuclear
See how they
weapons.
break down when you hit them with
Thousands
facts?
of ballistic missiles.
They have a
many of
terror
which
army.
They have destroyed. Others of which they have put inside facilities and hidden in underground facilities. And that's what terror regimes would do.
Yeah, we do that. We do that too, though. America does that.
But the amount of damage that we've done to them over the course
We have a lot of that.
of these series of operations has put them in the worst place they've ever been.
Okay, well, let me move on. On May 5th, you claimed that
pussy.
Iran doesn't control the strait, and you said that
Wah.
there was, quote, powerful red, white, and blue dome over the strait. If that was true, how did Iran shrink ship traffic in the strait to a trickle again last week?
Yeah.
We pushed almost, I believe, between 400 and 500 million barrels of oil under the nose of Iran over the course of Project Freedom, which went underground, which I acknowledged after we did so covertly, because it was more effective to do so quietly than to do so publicly. So we've been in control of moving traffic through there for quite some
Have we?
time. Well, they retain the ability to recklessly shoot at commercial shipping, and that's what happened. We had a ceasefire, and then they shot at commercial shipping
Well, you
recklessly
also
as a state.
said at
That's
that
what changed it.
same press conference, and I'm going to quote you, you urged Iran to, quote, let innocent ships pass freely. These international waters belong to all nations, not to Iran to tax, toll, or control. Last week, President Trump said the U.S. would charge a 20% toll to each ship to pass through the state. So based on your opposition to tolls, did you talk to the president out of that idea?
Oof.
Or did someone else?
Oof.
Iran's not charging tolls,
How
and
about-
they're shooting at ships.
How about Oh,
Trump said that he wanted to charge a 20% toll.
We have a blockade right now of all Iranian ships in Iranian ports,
Didn't answer
and
the question.
it's
the
effective.
question. It's effective? Okay, that didn't answer the question, but
Senator Murkowski.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you all for being here. Challenging times, I think we all recognize that.
challenging times.
Hegseth, I want to ask, just specific to Iran authorization, the administration has made the case that the action in Iran falls under the president's Article 2 authorities, and we can have disagreement. Reasonable people can disagree about the boundaries of the presidential war powers, and have for a long period of time. But I look at the War Powers Resolution, and it's not ambiguous. It requires the president to terminate hostilities within 60 days, absent congressional authorization.
And its
So
time's
hostilities
up.
began February 28th. May 1st, Congress was informed that hostilities had ended, but yet despite the fact that hostilities had ended, we were still seeing sailors being fired upon still activity. Then in June, MOU is signed to preserve the ceasefire while negotiations continue.
He's going to say, well, they shot
at
at civilian
and
ships,
we're
so.
seeing the resumed attacks in the Straits of Hormuz. On July 10, the administration sends Congress a new war powers notification, effectively restarting the 60-day clock again. So I'm concerned about this.
Hit the like button, you guys.
Because you
Help me
have a
out. Get the stream out there.
situation where the claim essentially allows the president to extinguish the war powers clock just at the moment that it becomes legally inconvenient through declaration of temporary ceasefire. Then it's reset, avoiding the congressional authorization that the Constitution requires and the war powers intends. So we had an opportunity in previous appropriations hearing for me to ask if you felt the administration had all the authority that it needed. You indicated at that time that no, additional authority was not needed. Is the administration still taking that position about needing no authorization from Congress at this time?
Senator, I know there's a long-standing legal debate on this particular topic, but we certainly, as a department, share the position of the White House that we have all the authorities necessary at this moment.
So let me just kind of do a follow-on. In the Clinton administration, this is 1999, there was an operation that was launched, Operation Allied Force, NATO airstrikes against Yugoslavia. There was not a prior congressional authorization that was sought. President Clinton notified Congress under the War Powers Resolution, and then subsequent to that, sent Congress an emergency supplemental funding request. It was about $6 billion to cover the cost of Kosovo operations. Congress then passed a supplemental package that covered the president's request plus additional military funding. But Congress never passed a standalone authorization for use of military force in Kosovo. When the war powers clock was set to run out then in May of 1999, the Clinton Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel issued an opinion holding that the supplemental appropriation itself, passed without any authorizing language, satisfied the War Powers Resolution requirement. So is the department looking to that or intending to rely on that same reasoning that funding alone
This is way
can
too long.
substitute for explicit congressional authorization?
Way too long of a question.
Senator, I would have to defer to our legal department.
Yeah,
We'll get
he
back
ain't
to you
even-
with our views
yeah.
on that. But as of right now,
Way we use all your time to
standalone
ask a dumb fuck
Article 2
long
authorities
question.
exist for us to conduct this operation on behalf of the defense.
And then
of the
appealing
United
back
States.
to Clinton for why?
Authorities and seeking this funding
You can-
is important.
you just
in
go back to
pursuit of
last
that
year
and our
from the big,
$1.5
beautiful
trillion
bill,
budget, but
when they
I would
already
like to
asked
do
for
without consulting
a
with our
chungus amount of money.
folks.
for what we're going through already.
In my remaining time,
You don't need to go
let me
back to
turn
fucking
you,
Clinton.
Secretary Rollins, I appreciate that you have acknowledged that fishermen are farmers of the sea. I don't know whether you are aware whether any fishermen will be eligible for any of the supplemental funding. They too have faced many of the same challenges that our farmers have with high fuel costs, the impact from tariffs, disasters that we have seen. In the 15 seconds remaining, any help for our
And
fishermen?
any money that does get
Well, I
approved,
remember
fishermen
having a
are not
conversation
getting
with
that
you when we were
fucking
going through the
money.
process, and my commitment to you
going to
and Senator
corporations.
Collins and some of our others on the across the aisle was that it's time for USDA to recognize our fishermen as part of our farmers of the sea. That's never happened before. We now have an office at USDA focused on fishermen, and so I think as you all move forward with the supplemental, the conversation
Farmers of the
it's up to
sea.
you all what that looks like, but very supportive of treating our fishermen similarly to the rest of our.
That
farmers.
sounds woke.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Farmers
Thank
of the
you.
sea.
Senator Durbin.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Mr. Secretary, I'd like to ask you to help me reconcile some numbers. It's my understanding that this whole supplemental funding request is $87.6 billion, and most of the funding, $67 billion, is for the Department of Defense. Yet we are told the Department of Defense still has $75 billion in unobligated funding from last year's reconciliation package. Is that true?
Roughly correct numbers, yes.
So you left some change on the dresser before you prepared to come for this hearing.
Damn.
What's going to happen to that $75 billion?
Okay,
That
Dick Durbin.
75 is, there's plans and designs on that. Part
There's
of the rebuild
plans
of
and
our military,
designs.
Which had to be undertaken, and so.
I'll have a
once the
plan,
bill
Arthur.
Gave us specific avenues, but I'd have to get you the exact numbers of what that is.
To do that.
Does it have to do with the war in Iran?
Oof.
No, this is rebuilding our military from what was not funded in the past under the Biden administration. So this is from 2026,
Oh.
beautiful bill, which helped move the president's priorities like Golden Dome for America, move away from all the woke priorities of
Woke.
what the Biden administration was pursuing. Give
So,
us a chance
and then
to
we're
start
doing
cutting
Biden
the
again.
munitions,
Secretary,
all the things that the president wanted us to focus on: shipbuilding, hypersonics. I mean, the Biden administration ignored hypersonics.
Biden.
They just decided to pretend
Yeah.
like that technology didn't
Biden.
exist and we shouldn't invest in it.
Think
There
about
are
it.
things- I don't know what Lloyd Austin did for 4 years.
Wow. Damn.
The amount of neglect,
Sure, he has
the amount
questions
of
about what you're
stale
doing
thinking.
now.
Damn,
and
attacking
bureaucracy.
Lloyd Austin?
It was
Can
staggering.
you shut the fuck up?
Big, beautiful bill gave
Shut
us
up.
a chance to get
Tell him to
caught.
shut up. Tell him to shut the fuck up. Just tell him to shut the fuck up.
Ask questions.
Yeah.
I've been
Shut
listening
up.
patiently while you made your presentation.
Holy cow.
You estimated at one point that the
Fucking
cost
dog.
of the war in Iran was $29 billion, but then added a caveat that there was a replacement of munitions, for example. Do you have a new estimate about what the war has cost us so far in this, the 5th month of the first year of this war in Iran?
Senator, the estimate we have as of today is $37.5 billion.
And is the current activity, which we've been told about, the exchange of fire back and forth in Iran, an indication that that number is going to go up in the months ahead?
Some of that number captures additional O&M, mill pay, and other that would be anticipated through the fiscal year. So some of that anticipates what costs would be going out in the future as well.
So the new number you've given me is what?
$37.5 billion.
And that represents the cost of the war through what period of time?
Through now for certain aspects of it, but also mill pay, O&M,
What?
other anticipated costs through September 30th. Senator.
September 30th?
Kane, let me ask you a question. I joined a group of senators, some are here, Senator Rounds, Senator Coons, Senator Shaheen, and met with President Zelensky in Turkey during the NATO summit. He was very explicit in terms of what he needed to win. He feels the momentum in Ukraine is moving to his side, and that he is putting a foot forward instead of back. Is that your feeling?
Sir, I think the pressure that Ukraine is putting on Russia is substantive at this point.
Do you acknowledge his request that we help them with air defenses as a high priority?
So I know he's made the request. Whether or not that moves forward is always a debate at our civilian leadership, but I'm aware of that request.
Are you aware of the fact that we appropriated and the president signed into law $400 billion of supplemental funding for Ukraine?
Yeah, we fought for that.
For air defenses?
And guess how much they got?
I am, sir.
And where did it go?
Are you also aware the administration has informed us that money will not be available in many aspects until the next president is in office?
Exactly.
I'm not aware of that. My
that's a
understanding.
fact.
It's facts. It's facts.
Was
That is the
capital had
facts.
been allocated.
So that way, when
Defer to
if the Democrat takes over and then uses that money, they can blame them. It's a fucking game.
In fiscal year 29.
And then they'll say it's because of the Democrat and the Russians got to fight again or whatever.
If you're talking about air defenses and
I'm so sick of this shit.
Zelensky, what impact will it have if we cannot fund this for 3 years?
So I want to highlight that the incredible work that the Ukraine
Wow.
industrial
They're
base is
avoiding
doing
all
as
of the
they
questions.
Scale their own capabilities. It
Wow.
ranges from their surface-to-air capabilities to their air-to-air capabilities.
Talk a little slower.
Recently, we had the first air-to-air kill where a Ukrainian F-16 shot down a Russian fighter. So I think their ability to scale their layered defense has come along a long way over the past couple years with the help and assistance of many.
Right.
General, thank you for your service to the country, and I'm sorry for our losses. I believe 17 servicemen have given their lives in Iran so far, and hundreds have been injured. We should acknowledge that fact.
Probably more than that.
Also say, we're at a moment in history where we can win the war in Ukraine. That victory would be critically important for those people who have fought for more than 4 years against the odds and proven they can put Putin back on his heels. But instead of finding the money that they need now,
We'll give it to Israel. Give it to Israel.
more money into this exchange with Iran. a
Yeah,
war of choice,
exactly.
Which we never should have entered.
It's because of Israel. It all roads lead back to Israel.
Senator Moran.
It really does.
Thank you very much. Let me first.
That's why Laura Loomer is in Ukraine, by the way. But you got motherfucking. I'm gonna get mad later. You guys think I'm mad now? Wait till I start going through the Laura Loomer shit.
Hugely significant and important in.
I don't care whose feelings I hurt.
Here, but across the country.
Never have.
It is as challenging circumstances as I've seen farmers in my time and representing them in the United States Congress. And I appreciate my colleague, Senator Rounds, for making that case today. I appreciate the efforts by Senator Bozeman, the chairman of the Ag Committee, and Senator Rounds and his Vice Chairman Shaheen for their efforts here on this committee for that effort. Secretary Hegseth, let me ask you about your recent visit to the 101st Airborne Division. You saw the MV-75 Cheyenne. You saw it firsthand and heard from soldiers, as I understand it, about the next generation capabilities, how they will transform the way we fight. The Cheyenne has broken through, and it appears to me, in the acquisition bureaucracy to deliver a capability for our warfighting much faster than it otherwise would have happened. As you look across acquisition, I mean, we're here talking about appropriations, but the ultimate success we'll have in defending our country is putting that money to work as quickly as possible.
Wow.
So as you look at acquisition, what would you tell me we learned from the Cheyenne? Is it a model how the department it intends to field the next generation of capacity going forward? What does the program need from this committee to meet both the schedule and the necessity of its capabilities?
Senator, I appreciate the question. I think it's one of the untold stories of our department is how we've tried to revolutionize the speed and scale of new acquisitions and procurement. Some of it through munitions and ensuring that companies pay for building their own factories and their own assembly lines so that we're saving billions and billions as taxpayers while companies invest. And when you invest in something with your own money, you want to see it succeed ahead of schedule and on time. Also opening the aperture so it's not just the prime contractors that are competing, but new entrants who make high cost and low cost capabilities. I think in particular on the Cheyenne and the Black Hawk and the replacement, the gap that some have identified could exist based on the hesitation on speed and replacement exists because of an austerity mindset, again, that goes back to the Biden of divest to invest.
God dang.
And so you end up divesting in certain systems like the Black Hawk before the next one is online, creating gaps for actual operators. And what we're funding in this supplemental and across this budget.
Biden's eating ice cream and like wearing glasses and getting old.
Are older, and that newer entrants that we're going to need for long-range fight to deliver, to be more survivable in contested environments, which you're talking about. When I had a chance to see it, the soldiers were proud to be in it because they felt like it would give them greater advantage in the future. We need to accelerate the timelines of those and deliver them even more quickly. And when you allow new entrants with all the right incentives, those things happen, and it's happening in that
Will
program.
that take place, I think you may have just said this, but will take place in this circumstance of the Cheyenne?
I believe in this administration, because of the policies of this administration, it is likely to do so. Just like the B-21, just like the F-47, just like so many other of our exquisite munitions that otherwise would have taken years and years to even get into development. We're moving those things left by, in some cases, years, so that we get them in the hands of warfighters who would need them right now and not held up in bureaucracy in this.
Laura Loomer with Preston Stewart's team to Ukraine? That doesn't sound right.
Is requesting significant supplemental.
Please tell me that's not true.
Operational demands.
That can't be right.
Our adversaries are watching.
That doesn't sound right at all.
Resource this moment. Beijing, Moscow, Tehran are all increasingly coordinating their activities and intelligence. In your judgment, do you believe our adversaries view this moment as an opportunity to exploit U.S. commitments elsewhere? And how does this supplemental ensure our deterrence posture and our commitments to allies remain credible in every theater all at once?
Well, sir, thanks for the question. In my job, it's to look across the globe and look at the range.
Blah, 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 blah.
Strongest military in the world. Our adversaries still fear America's
Blah, blah,
ability
blah,
to
blah, blah,
project
blah.
power at the time and place of our choosing. There is no doubt that they are aligning, as I've said before.
What proof do you have that Preston Stewart brought Laura Loomer to Ukraine? I don't believe that at all.
The executive branch decides to structure and give us the capital. We'll use that capital to ensure that we sustain that, sir.
You're assuring us that this supplemental and further efforts will reduce the risks to our nation and its national securities issues.
Yes, sir. I view this, and I've spoken to some of you on the phone leading up to this. I view this as future investments to buy down risk, similar to what I said Marshall thought through in those heady days in 1940, where the need to invest capital early to deliver scale is an opportunity that I hope we don't miss, Senator.
General, thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Senator Reed.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Secretary Rollins, I just want to reiterate a point that Senator Padilla made. We have $10 billion in this request for Midwestern farmers who are suffering because of the interruption of fuel and fertilizers because of the President Trump's war, unauthorized war. Yet, many states, blue states particularly, have submitted requests. Rhode Island has one. February, we had the worst snowstorm in our recent history, and we've been denied by the president. In fact, if you look at the numbers, 20% of blue states seem to get approved, and about 80% of red states. I'm making a point, not asking a question. This is unfair. Thank you. Secretary Hegseth,
Damn.
on February 28th, when you initiated this war without authorization,
Told her ass.
Congress, the Straits of Hormuz was open and providing vital fuel supplies for the whole world. Now they're closed effectively, impacting globally the price of oil and the economies of the whole world. But the Department of Defense has been planning for potential operations against Iran for many, many years. And one of their obvious assumptions was that the Strait of Hormuz could be closed. Were you unaware of that?
Senator, you are correct. Nobody plans more and looks at more contingencies than our department. And so, of course, undertaking a historic effort like this, of this scope and scale, of course, the Strait of Hormuz was front and center in every single aspect of that. Hence why one of our key objectives to begin with was to sink the entirety of Iran's Navy, which its conventional Navy was sunk. Now, you can't get rid of every single fast boat and every single machine gun and a fast boat. Or
Thanks for looking that up, Nura.
Coastal cruise missile. So we acknowledge that if the state decided to become a terror state shooting at commercial shipping, that would be an ongoing and contested part of the battle, to include their willingness to mine international water. So one side weaponized the strait, and we've been fighting back the entire time.
Completely aware that the Strait of Hormuz could be closed, and obviously sinking their ships has not affected their ability to effectively close the straits.
We had U.S. boats that surrendered to Iranian ships under the Biden administration.
Oh, Biden.
So their Navy was effective in expeditionary ways.
Biden. Before you started, a situation in which Oil was flowing freely. There was no conflict. We weren't losing personnel as a result of Iranian action.
Exactly.
So,
Fuck boy.
your fallback to the Biden administration is just a very, very obvious excuse for what I think is probably, as you described so often, gross negligence. You did not fully inform the president that you would be in a situation where the Strait of Hormuz could be effectively closed, oil prices could surge, and effectively the Iranians could maintain their ability to strike back as they are right now. They just killed some of our servicemen last weekend.
This battlefield and all the dynamics of it, of which the chairman and I are responsible for ensuring the president understands every branch and sequel of what could happen, and we did. So the fact that those contingencies all were part of the possibility and we understood that is all the more reason why President Trump deserves the kind of praise he should get.
Oh, wow.
Having
Wow.
the courage to ensure that crazy Islamists can't have a nuclear
Crazy
weapon
Islamists.
hold us at issue. And he's been willing to stay committed to that.
Ex-
regardless of the
what?
challenges,
Excuse me. So he
of
should
this
be
battle.
praised. He should be praised for starting a war without
Yep.
authority.
Exactly.
Creating a situation in which the world economy is suffering tremendously. We have to have extra money for our farmers.
Literally.
And we have no outcome, at least no realistic outcome in sight yet. Let me switch to General Kane.
I like how he had no time for the agriculture lady.
yet.
He literally told her off. It was like, it's a statement, not a question.
Airstrikes alone will do that?
So I think academically, as you look across the totality of history, air power's got limits, and we always have to be mindful of those. I think where America's area of exclusivity is when we bring the totality of the diplomatic, informational, economic, and pair that with the military, and there's a lot of that work going on,
Well,
sir.
the military, the next step would be escalation by ground combat. Do you anticipate that escalation?
Sir, I think it'd be unhelpful for me to opine on hypotheticals. What I can tell you is we always develop
Hypotheticals.
an unbelievable amount of options and the associated risks. And then my main job is to always ensure that leaders understand those options and the risks.
Now, if you employ ground troops to seize objectives, which I would assume would be the first stage, are you prepared for an extended guerrilla war, which would likely happen in that area?
Sir, with all due respect, I think it'd be unhelpful for me to opine on hypothetical situations, on whatever decisions the president may or may not take.
That's
in the
crazy.
future.
Have you advised the president that a ground combat would be very expensive in the lives of our soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and also could probably lead to an extended
You think you guys have seen anti-war protests now? Wait until if they ground invade.
the Iranian sort of
Oh my God, dude.
hands of saying, welcome to Iran.
Senator, I always advise the president on a range of military options and all of the risks that are contained within that, but I have to keep my military advice to the president private, sir.
But, well, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Hoeven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Secretary Rollins, I want to thank President Trump, and I want to thank you for including farm bridge assistance in this supplemental request. I know I've worked very hard to get it included. I know you have worked very hard to get it included, and I want to thank you and your whole department for your work on it and for this support of our farmers. And ranchers.
Through the military funding.
It was actually crop insurance.
Yeah,
The number
this
one
is the
risk management
gaslight. This is
tool
the game that they play.
our farmers have is crop insurance, and the buy-up option is critically important. It covers
The game that you
67
play.
million acres, 67 million acres of farmland in this country. It was decommissioned, and we need to get it reinstated. Again, you and I both worked very hard on this. Please update me on where we are in terms of getting that buy-up option for crop insurance reinstated.
We are 100% supportive of that and are moving forward to execute that buy-up option. Thank you for your leadership on that, Senator.
Thank you for your support. Also, Assistant Secretary Fortas for his support. It's very impactful, very important, and will make a big difference for our farmers right now. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Secretary Hegseth, are Russia and China helping Iran? And if so, how?
What a
Senator, as the
fucking.
chairman alluded to,
What a.
there's
What
definitely
a.
adversary alignment.
What?
To do so, and there are many ways that we deter that. Some of which are, and the depth and extent of it ought to remain classified, and it should. But there are ways in which both of those countries are limiting at different levels, enabling some of the things Iran is doing. Yes.
Wow. And then a dumb question with a fucking non-answer. That's great.
Sir, I'd rather
Not
opine
right.
on the specifics
Yeah.
because that would divulge what we know, and
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't want the
Never want to do
adversary
that.
know what I know.
Right.
I just want to know it.
And hopefully we'll
Exactly.
get a chance to do that.
I know it, and they don't.
Happy to do that in a skiff, sir.
This relates both to the funding, but also, again, to how we achieve our objectives with Iran. Starting with you, Secretary, can we get to the point, and we're seeing...
This is idiocracy for sure.
I think improvement and progress on this, but essentially where we can work, and hopefully our allies they need to step in there with us. But where we get to the point where
That sounds like Kermit the Frog.
Operate in the Strait of Hormuz, but keep Iran blockaded. We're continuing to
Kermit
get
the
better at that,
fascist.
But that's how we keep. They'll never do anything that they say they're going to do. They've proven that over and over. We have to keep the pressure on. But if we can do that effectively, we keep the pressure on and achieve our objectives. Tell us where we are in getting that accomplished.
Senator, I think that's a really good point. That's effectively what we did to create the pressure that led to the
9/11
MOU,
was bad.
which was we're running a route where ships, and
Wow.
we did it covertly.
We ran
in
routes.
cooperation with Gulf countries and others
Yep.
who were willing to take some of the risk with our protection.
Ran
and then
routes on
maintain
the
blockade. So effectively, oil's coming in and out.
high
oil
T
prices are coming
field
down,
of
but our
the
blockade
Strait
is
of
staying,
Hormuz.
pressure is mounting on Iran. That's something we
They're
have
Hail
to
Marys on 'em.
continue to do. We moved into an MOU where Iran said we won't shoot at shipping, and then they
And then they did.
The RGC turned around and decided to start shooting at commercial shipping again.
Wow.
At which point the president, I mean, as he should, cannot tolerate that. And so
As
we
he should.
As he said 10 times, you shoot at ships, we're going to shoot at you overwhelmingly, which we have been doing now for, I believe it's a 10th consecutive evening. So
Wow.
consequences come with the willingness to shoot at commercial shipping. Our blockade has been reimposed and
Yeah.
is effectively impenetrable. We got seized a ship inside the Arabian Gulf as well. So there's a lot of different angles to it, a lot of levers we can pull, and ultimately a lot of the strikes that Admiral Cooper and CENTCOM have been undertaking are taking Iran's ability to see and sense away in the Strait of Hormuz, which has tactical benefits for us.
And that's what this funding is about. This funding is about making sure that we and our
Kermit the
allies
Frog here.
Strait of Hormuz, which helps bring down energy prices for every single American consumer, and that we force Iran to meet our objectives. Isn't that what this package is all about?
This is a peace through strength package.
Right on.
That's what 1.5 trillion has always been about, a generational investment at as the chairman alluded to, a step change moment. We need to be able to do it at speed, at scale, with autonomy, with AI, with exquisite high cost and low cost, to be ahead and stay ahead so that you're not just able to do what we need to do in the Strait of Hormuz, but deter adversaries like Russia and China from getting involved in future contingencies.
And just General Kane for any follow-up that you would like on that issue.
Sir, I wouldn't have anything to add.
Okay. Again,
Thanks. You don't want to opine.
all of our men and
No
women in
opining.
uniform, we appreciate them so much.
Senator Shaheen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Secretary Hegseth, since you last testified before this committee, we finally received the spend plan for the $400 million FY26 appropriation for Ukraine security assistance. This funding was passed back in January, and now there are only 3 months left in this fiscal year. And while I appreciate that we now see what most of the funding is intended for, I just heard from the CEO of one of the manufacturers of the defense articles that are contained in the spend plan that they not only haven't received funding, but they haven't even seen a contract.
Damn.
So when are
That's
we
the
gonna see a
Trump way.
contract for those defense articles that are contained in the
Damn.
spend
Who's getting that?
plan?
Wait, who's taking that money then?
I'm sorry, for Ukraine.
For Ukraine. Senator, I'll have to get back to you on the specifics of the timeline of that. I'll talk to our policy shop as well as the EUCOM commander to determine where that's at.
Yeah.
Well, you've told this committee that you've barely spent half of the $150 billion in reconciliation funding, And if you still have $75 billion available, why are you asking the American people to absorb the cost of a war they don't support instead of asking for transfer authority for unspent reconciliation funding?
Ooh, there you go.
Especially if you can't even get $400 million in Ukraine funding out the door.
Damn.
As I mentioned earlier, Senator, that money from the One Big Beautiful Bill is otherwise allocated.
It's
to
from
the rebuild of
Biden.
our military,
It's 'cause
with priorities
Biden.
of the president, like Golden Dome for America and hypersonics and other munitions investments that we made up front as we tried to adjust the Biden budget into an
Biden
budget. And so reallocating that away from those priorities is.
And now we have to do it because Biden again.
To rebuild.
But my point is,
and ultimately we're committed
if you can't
to
spend
this
it
year's
on
agenda.
a timeline that makes sense, why do you need to come back and ask for more money? Wouldn't it be better to spend money that you already have? And one of the things I noted was, or at least I think, that this supplemental doesn't include funding to repair damage to our bases or to our military infrastructure in the region. And I have not heard that we've gotten the full extent of any of those damage estimates. So should we expect another request to address that military construction costs? And at what point do you stop asking Americans to foot the bill for a war they don't support on top of an inflated budget request and billions in reconciliation funds that you still haven't spent?
Well, Senator, I obviously don't agree with your characterization of that. But
I
ultimately-
appreciate that, but you didn't ask, but I want you to answer my question. I know you don't agree with my characterization. I don't agree with yours either.
Well, one of the reasons I take issue with that characterization is something that Senator Durbin said when he talked about Ukraine and he talked about winning. And I appreciate as much as anybody winning a war. But I sit in front of a committee that wants to talk about winning a war that's been going on for 4 years and talks about strategic defeat of a conflict that's been going on for 4 months to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear bomb.
That boy's sweating right now.
I would hope for some perspective in this town of the historic nature of what President Trump is undertaking.
Yeah.
Do you want radical Islamists?
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
to tear down the world.
Yeah.
Limited time.
Stop fucking virtue
If you
signaling.
answer my question, then I will move on.
You guys can't appreciate Trump?
Secretary Rollins.
Fuck.
The timber industry has also been hard hit.
Hell's wrong with you?
By trade wars, by drought, by wildfires, by other natural disasters that are increasingly common. In New Hampshire,
You guys are pretty fucking what
which is
Trump
the
does for
second
you?
most heavily forested state in the nation. One of the things that we really need, as you know, because we've had this conversation, is a research program and Forest Service staffing. on
Dude,
the
he just
ground
crashed out big time.
in a variety of ways, but
keeps
particularly
doing it.
Bartlett Experimental Forest. These small investments in research and staffing and sound management help make the forest economies healthier and more competitive. I very much appreciate your having staff visit Bartlett last week with my staff and with staff from the governor's office. But can you commit to restoring staffing at Bartlett and to keeping the facilities there open now that you've seen the critical nature of that research?
Why don't I follow up with you? I have not gotten a report.
Doesn't wanna
from
say it in
the visits, so I
person.
would like to do that first, but obviously you and I have been in a continuing conversation about that. The good news, there's no doubt our timber industry is in distress and has been for a long time. The fact that we import 90% or something from other countries of our lumber needs is crazy. We're changing that. But the good news, we had more board feet sold last year than any time in 30 years. This year, we're going to exceed that target again. So we're making the right moves on this, but there's no doubt that research is important to that, as we've discussed. And I'll follow up with our team, and then we'll
Research is important.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As you pointed out, research is critical to ensuring that the timber economy continues to be successful. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Kennedy.
Oh, boy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here today. General, in the war between
Good and evil.
Russia and
Oh.
Ukraine, who do we want to win?
Oof. Uh-oh.
Sir, I want Ukraine to win.
I want Ukraine to win.
Russia our
That didn't sound
America's
confident.
friend?
I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't quite hear your
Is
question.
Russia America's friend?
I think that depends on your definition of friend. I think it's a complicated relationship.
Complicated, huh? Damn.
But no, I don't think there are friends.
Damn, Senator Kennedy is coming out.
Thank you.
That's it? Ex-Senator Kennedy?
If we could cut off Russia's cash flow, which depends substantially on its sale of oil, would that help Ukraine win?
So I think militarily, anytime you can restrict resources and cash flows against an adversary,
General, I
that's a
have
good
so
thing.
much respect for you.
Yes, sir.
But I have so little time.
Yes, sir. I'll try to be
Just
briefer.
Give me succinct answers.
Yes, sir. It would assist a.
Would help, wouldn't
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. If we could stop people, entities, and countries from buying Russia's oil, that would help cut off its cash flow, wouldn't it?
Yes, sir.
We have a bill to do that,
Oof.
as I'm sure you're aware.
And it was bipartisan.
We have the votes today to pass it overwhelmingly. I also have enormous respect and admiration for our majority leader, Senator Thune. But I hope everybody on this panel will today contact Senator Thune and ask him to bring that bill to the floor.
Damn.
We should vote on it at a minimum of next week. Some of my colleagues, General, want America to just stop in Iran.
Yeah, we should do that.
End the blockade.
Yep.
Bring all of our warriors home.
Yes, agree.
What would be the consequences of that, in your estimation?
More money and funding.
Determination criteria is a political decision. However,
Be able to
I
afford
assess that,
stuff.
Iran
Gas
will
prices would go
continue
back
to be a
down.
Challenge moving forward, so we have to be thoughtful.
Will they
about
put
that.
tolls on the strait?
I don't know, sir. That's a decision that's a hypothetical and will depend on what happens
It's not
in the future.
hypothetical. We've got a blockade to stop them.
We do, sir. That's
General,
putting
I want you
economic
to look me in
pressure
the
on
eye.
Iran.
I'm not asking you for, I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I know your advice to the president is private, but this is serious as 4 heart attacks and a stroke. Now, what happens if we come home and end the blockade to the world?
Fuck.
Sir, Iran has the potential to continue to be a threat, and we will need to.
Is this what's up? What's it? Who's controlling Senator Kennedy today?
Question, and I don't know the answer.
What the
to that.
fuck?
No, it's not hypothetical. We come home. It's not going to be hypothetical. You know that, General, and I do too. And I appreciate your discretion.
What the hell?
But we're down to it.
Oof.
We need some hard answers and some straight talk. What'll happen, Pete?
Yeah, Pete.
Senator, I would agree with the chairman, but the likely outcome is they would try to impose
Yo,
their
what
will
the heck?
on the waterways in ways that the
toll
world
it?
would not like. Call it a toll, call it a fee, call it an exchange, call it control. They would do something that they would try to hold it at issue. Yes, sir.
Would they try to
He called him
redevelop-
Pete, dude.
commence development again of a nuclear warhead?
He said Pete. Yo.
Part of the reason President Trump had to have the courage to do what he did after Midnight Hammer is that they didn't give up their ambitions even though their nuclear sites had been obliterated. So this is a regime hell-bent on nuclear ambitions, and
Guys,
President
we
Trump's
need
been willing to
straight
go after it.
answers.
Tell him.
Straight answers.
Tell him, Republican Senator Kennedy.
Do we have the ability to destroy
He's not a Democrat, by the way.
whatever
He's
is
super.
underneath Pickaxe Mountain?
That's why this is crazy right now. Pickaxe Mountain.
Senator, a lot of our capabilities are classified, but if anybody in the world
What
can
the
reach anything on God's green earth, it's the United States military.
Oh my God. What is
It's all
this?
about options and trade-offs.
All right. I'm going to take a little extra time because others got it, Madam Chair. I won't abuse it. Secretary, are shrimpers farmers?
Absolutely, yes. There are farmers of the sea.
Are oyster harvesters farmers?
Yes. In this USDA,
They
yes.
having to compete with other countries who grow oysters and shrimp in a ditch and shoot them full of antibiotics?
100% yes.
And if you eat too much of that foreign shrimp and oysters, you'll grow an extra ear, won't you?
I'm not sure about that, but I know it is not good. And I also know we
Why
import
aren't we
90% of our
inspecting
shrimp.
the shrimp and the oysters from abroad?
Well, it goes much larger than that. Why are we importing so much
What the
from abroad, which goes to the
fuck
president's
is
trash?
going on?
Big trouble.
What is happening?
Guys, look, we need straight answers now. We're down to it.
What is happening right now?
Senator Merkley.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair and Secretary Rollins. I appreciate your partnership on addressing
I
several
can't.
issues.
I don't know. It's on Senator Kennedy. That
A
was.
couple others, and you responded. Appreciate it. We'll follow up on the.
They were confused too. They're like, "Wait, why? You're supposed to be on our team. What are you doing?"
Contributions.
That was crazy.
As a match, but I
That was wicked.
need your help.
This is as serious as 4 heart attacks and a stroke.
And I know you've indicated how important that is. Where
What
we
the
stand
heck?
now is that the Senate seems hamstrung, that they're seeking to have.
What just happened?
Number on that.
We need to clip that.
Various sources.
That was like, wow, I'm gonna message my mom. We got to clip that whole thing.
Care if it's 4.5 or 5 or 5.5. The point is that folks here,
George.
senators, are asking for a number from OMB in order to go forward. And when we're looking at the fires right now in my home state's the epicenter of the highest risk in the country. So can we get your help to get that number and move this process?
Yes, absolutely. It is of paramount importance, especially in the middle of fire season right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Chairman Kane, I think there was a sense that the president expressed at the start of the
George
war,
agrees.
that the U.S. military power was overwhelming and would likely produce unconditional surrender quickly by Iran. And that obviously hasn't happened. Was it your opinion as well? Did you feel like our military force could produce an unconditional surrender in quick order?
Sir, I won't, with due respect, I won't share my private advice to the president. What I will assure you and the American people is I always speak truth to power and offer
Do you?
An accurate
Where?
assessment
When?
of what my assessment is of both our
Wow.
readiness, the plans and activities that might be undertaken, the associated risks, and the secondary and tertiary considerations that go with
The
those.
tertiary, secondary, and tertiary.
Thank you. So you feel like
That means the
various
third one,
risks that
guys. Just a
Iran
big
would
word.
could possibly close the strait, despite the destruction of their navy, that the possibility of assassinating their political leaders and their military leaders could produce a strengthened hardline and weaken the reformers, that Iran would have the ability to sustain its ability to attack sites throughout the Middle East, that the initial requirements of the war could surely deplete our basically high-end standoff munitions, that this could affect our relations with our allies. All those were factors well considered in this decision to go to war.
Sir, as I said, I won't opine on.
I want to go. Can we go back to Senator Kennedy again, actually?
Vice President, I'm asking you, did you understand these issues?
Merkley's kind of cooking them too
as
here.
the wars unfolded?
Sir, my job is to understand all of the considerations that go into the carefully considered use of military power.
Let me ask you this then.
Yes, sir.
That was so good.
I understand why you don't want to respond, but these are all massive risks that seem to be poorly weighed in the beginning of this misadventure. Currently, there are reports that we have hit the Bonji desalination plant that provides water to about 20 villages or about 10,000 people, and we also damaged the desalination plant at Keshem Island. Were these deliberate targets by the United States?
So I'm not aware of those as being particular targets, nor am I aware of those reports, and I'll have to go back.
Serious as 4 heart attacks and a stroke.
You
I can't get past that
aware
one.
Infrastructure that civilians rely on to survive is not generally considered legitimate military targets?
Sir, as you know, we have a robust process which considers a target that goes through a
You confused Senator Lindsey. Oh, well, you don't have. Oh, Lindsey Graham's dead now,
you're
so
alluding to around both purely civilian or dual-use targets.
you don't have to get them confused
I have
now.
trust and confidence in CENTCOM that they're looking at the range of those things on a daily
It
basis.
sounds like you are assuring us that we will, the United States, not target, even in retaliatory sense, infrastructure that is generally considered to be primarily for civilian survival?
So as I mentioned, we have a robust process, and we have the most professional military force.
It'd just
in the
be
world
nice
that
to have
follows
you
the
say
law.
yes, because this
It
is
follows the
international law.
Yes,
If
sir,
you
it follows
understand
the
the
law.
international law.
I do, sir. I've got a lot of lawyers that help me understand.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Will you get back to us on that
Yes, sir,
question of
of
whether we
course.
targeted the
Yes, sir.
desalination plants, and
Of
if so, why? My time's up, but I do want to express encouragement to look at what the negotiators have put forward, or advisors, as to whether a 10-day break could facilitate returning to dialogue that might find a path forward.
We gotta take a. It's like a pre-ceasefire for the ceasefire.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I
Yeah.
want to thank all three of you for being here today.
Wow, that was it.
I am going to direct my first question
Oh,
to
never mind.
Secretary Rollins. And
I thought that was
again,
over. I'm like,
I
really?
commend you publicly for the outstanding job you're doing at USDA. This is my world. As former Ag Commissioner, I hear from a lot of producers in Mississippi, and they are so pleased with your performance, and that is just truly genuine right there. But I'm pleased to see the administration's supplemental request as for ag producers, because before I comment on that, I just want the entire committee and administration to take note of the tremendous timber losses as well in places like Mississippi due to winter storms and the tornadoes we've had there. It is significant, and I certainly look forward to working with you with the concerns of the timber sector. Regarding this supplemental, our row crop producers, as you've mentioned in your opening remarks, they are truly in a serious situation. I've talked to multi-generation farmers back home who are the best of the best that did not even plant this year because they could not make the numbers work. And producers in Mississippi and nationwide, we continue to face these economic conditions. They're not going away.
So everything she said wasn't true then?
Soon.
Color me
But
shocked.
We've seen the commodity prices drop and the input costs just go through the roof. If we want the next generation to stay on the land, Congress, we're going to have to take this opportunity to provide this critical market assistance for our farmers and enact policies that build structural demands for commodities like the Buy American Cotton Act, that year-round E15, all of which would make the paths better, more favorable for these producers going forward. But I appreciate the administration's effort to this date, including the Farmer Bridge Assistance Program that was so valuable, implementation of the updated Farm Safety Net with Working Families Tax Cut Act, and now the supplemental request before Congress. But will you speak to why it's critical for Congress to act swiftly to pass this supplemental and the need for us to pass legislation that drives the demand for farmers' products?
Yes, thank you, Senator, for your kind words. A couple of really important points. Number one, as we work to open the markets around the world, and we're seeing, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, just extraordinary numbers. That $50 billion agricultural deficit we inherited a year and a half ago is now down into the 20-ish billion. We expect it to go down significantly this year. Again, the highest price we've seen in over a year in corn is today, and soybeans is today, et cetera. Your point, Senator, about opening up the domestic markets is really important, whether that's E15, renewable fuel standards. Obviously, the RVOs came out, which is a reason for the drive up in some of.
Can we agree that all of that should be addressed on its own?
But also, as I mentioned, bringing the cost of
Like, this is wild. Republicans will do that all day long, and they hate, like I said earlier, they hate having bloated bills. Like apparently you can have a big, beautiful bill like they did last year and put billions and billions of dollars into whatever the fuck. And then here they're asking for 1.5 trillion for the military, and then they're adding on the agriculture to gaslight motherfuckers, and they're like, "Oh, we got to support the bill because that's the only way that the farmers will get money." It's so fucking, it's so bad. That is so bad.
While we're opening the markets, while we're bringing down the cost of inputs.
That is so bad.
For a secure America, and that's why this is so important today.
Thank you very, very much for that. And Secretary Hegseth, thank you for being here and the amazing job that you're doing. I have the utmost respect for you, your team, and what you're accomplishing. But I as well am committed to ensuring that our warfighters have all the tools necessary to accomplish the mission in Iran and whatever else that they need to defend our nation's interest. The supplemental request is in line with that goal, and I'd like to shift my conversation right now quickly to shipbuilding, which is extremely important to the state of Mississippi and our country's ability to protect itself. The President's FY 2027 budget requests funding
My farmers of the sea.
51, while Navy leaders have said their goal remains to build.
I'm going to go
2
ask a crab
stores per
fisherman.
year.
Hey,
And at the same time, the department is
are you a
exploring
farmer of the
options for
sea?
using allied shipyards and overseas fabrication in future naval construction, which raises questions about the long-term role of the American naval
Holy
industrial
cow.
base or shifting work away
Yo.
from domestic shipbuilders. Shipyards like Ingalls in Mississippi, which I would love to invite you down to.
My
visit.
oysters and a
It's
Chinese
amazing, and
dish.
the thousands of suppliers and small businesses they support, they need the confidence that the work will be there so they can invest in
But
new
did
facilities,
shrimps.
hire and train skilled workers and expand capacity that we will need in the future.
We need some straight talk here.
Talk to us about the department's short and long-term shipbuilding plan and how it gives industry the confidence to invest.
You just made the case for this generational investment because of the underinvestment, Senator, in shipbuilding in the previous administration. Just static, flat, bureaucratic,
Biden.
slow.
Biden.
We're having to revitalize that industry.
Ice cream.
One DDG is a reflection of a backlog in capability. So as we ramp on more capacity, those numbers of DDGs, the workhorse of our Navy, will go up as we grow that force.
The
My Navy.
senator's time has
Wow,
expired.
that was a waste of everyone's time.
Thank you, Chairman Collins, Ranking Member Murray. Thank you, Secretary Hegseth, Secretary Rollins, General Kane, for your service. I want to start with the things I know we agree on.
Oh,
We agree
What do we
that
agree
should
on?
honor our fallen, that
Okay.
we should stop and remember them,
Right.
and console and comfort their families,
okay.
that we should be mindful of the hundreds of Americans who've been wounded and injured in this war in Iran. General Kane, your observations about how our adversaries are aligning more and more closely. Technology is accelerating, and cheap and lethal and easily accessible drones pose greater and greater risks to our troops, our homeland, and our security. And Secretary Hegseth, that we need to protect our troops wherever our president directs them, that we need to protect our partners and allies, and that the dangerous radical Iranian regime should never possess a nuclear weapon. I think we agree on all of these core basic points. Where I think we may disagree is on this supplemental and on the strategic choices made to achieve some of these core goals. We're 143 days into a war with Iran, a war of choice that we started with Israel, but did not include, consult, or incorporate our core allies, our NATO allies, our regional allies, the American people, and Congress. And the reason to consult and include our allies and Congress and the American people is so that when the costs and the length of a war extend beyond what we'd initially imagined, the American people and their representatives in Congress understand that sacrifice and can continue to support it. I think your first strategic mistake was to not consult the American people in Congress and make a clear case for the reasons behind this war. There have been many, lots offered. And I think
Well,
our military
47
has
years.
executed on the core missions: attack ballistic missile sites, sink the Blue Water Navy, attack their proxies, constrain their capacity. But I frankly think it was entirely foreseeable that Iran would close the Strait of Hormuz, would use cheap, lethal, widely available Shahed drones that they've led the world in manufacturing to attack our bases, our troops, our partners and allies, and impose real costs. Higher costs in fertilizer, in fuel, higher costs for the world, and tragically increasing.
Is Coons a Republican too?
For us and for our troops. So 2 questions, 2 general lines of questioning, if I could. Mr. Secretary, your question says, without these
No,
supplemental
he's a
funds, we will
Democrat.
face critical shortfalls that threaten our ability to pay our service members and sustain global operations without disruption. You've been asked repeatedly, there's $75 billion appropriated but unobligated. Can we really not avoid critical short-term shortfalls? What does that mean about the budget management within the department in terms of
unexpected and unbudgeted wars. First, Operation Southern Spear, and then Operation Epic Fury.
Epic Chungus.
I would just note.
Bit about Midnight Hammer.
95% of that One Big Beautiful Bill funding will be allocated by the end of September in accordance with congressional intent. So these are things we said we would spend, and we told you we would spend them on, and we plan to spend them on.
So then you're asking for more money for next year, and then next year you'll ask.
Based on new realities.
New realities.
Of the world we face.
Wow.
Stepping up to meet that moment.
Wow.
And forgive me, Mr. Secretary, but that's news to me.
Really?
That $75 billion will be out the door, allocated and spent by September. And I was simply questioning how we have ships running out of fuel in the open seas and planes being grounded and.
I didn't say ships were running out of fuel in open seas or planes were grounded. I'm saying we have to make trade-offs.
Maintenance accounts are running
everything
out
our
of money.
troops need on the battlefield, they're getting in spades and beyond. It's ultimately looking into the future. Can we invest above and beyond that the types of munitions fast enough as we upgrade and modernize our force? That's what's at issue here in this $1.5 trillion, this supplemental, and any other additional funding that comes.
Two quite different things: a $1.5 trillion base budget request and a now $76 billion supplemental. And I was simply going to point to Department of Homeland Security is sitting on nearly $100 billion in unobligated funds. You haven't requested reimbursement for the millions of, frankly, billions of dollars the department has spent on law enforcement. Second,
we requested reimbursement and are getting a substantial reimbursement from DHS.
That's good news, and that's news to me. And frankly, as we reflect on the service and sacrifice of those who put their lives on the line of this war, one of the things I've raised over and over and over is the ways in which this administration has dragged its feet on partnering with Ukraine in order to deploy the best-in-class sensors, detectors, and counter-drone systems to protect everything from Dover Air Force Base to our bases in the region, to our troops, to our partners. I want to see you focus on accelerating the defense of our troops and our nation, focus on accelerating the defense of our troops and this region, and a strategy that has a real chance at succeeding at the goals that we agree on. Because the strategy followed, I think, has no credible likelihood of success.
Senator Britt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate all of you being here today. So since the beginning of the
Georgia, not agree.
aggression into Ukraine, this body has
With Pete
passed
Hegseth's
5
response.
supplemental bills funding different portions of that war. You mentioned in your opening, Mr. Secretary, about
Oh boy.
not
It's the
getting
kitchen lady.
munitions that had come through this body quick enough to Ukraine, and also being able to replenish those here at home. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I remember the previous administration dragging its feet after this body gave them directive as to what to do. So can you shed a little bit more light as to what you were talking about in your opening?
Well, thank you for that question. Sometimes we forget recent history, which under the Biden administration, there were 5 supplemental requests for
No, I didn't get a dog.
Which almost every member of this body voted for.
I'm dog watching.
In a bipartisan fashion for something that this committee and the administration deemed to be urgent. President Trump may take a different view, but that was the view of the Biden administration.
And real quick, wouldn't you say it would be urgent to make sure that our men and women in uniform right now have everything that they need?
I would argue providing for American men and women as opposed to Ukrainian men and
Wow.
women
Ooh.
is a higher priority
Damn.
for the United States Senate.
Damn.
So 5 supplementals that went to Ukraine, as
Yeah,
good as that
yeah,
cause
Kennedy.
may be, why is that righteous to do? But funding troops in harm's way right now, given the threat and what they're undertaking.
Let Senator Kennedy answer
An
this.
exercise.
Wow.
It's hypocrisy.
Partisan.
You're pointing it out.
Real quick, Madam Secretary, question for you. When the Russia-Ukraine war started, we saw obviously cost go up around the world. In particular, in that region, we know that the supplying of fertilizer.
Well, at least Laura Loomer will be fighting with Pete Hegseth now.
Ukraine was top 5 when it came to wheat and corn and other things that we
Oof.
utilize,
Damn.
across the globe. It's my recollection that fertilizer went up about 55%. Obviously, if we were able to create stability there in the region and have peace, it would it would follow that then prices would likely go down over time within the agriculture world as well. Is that fair?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and when we're looking at the Ukraine and Russia war and trying to end Putin's aggression, trying to bring peace, General Kane, if we were to cut off the funding that Russia was getting, would it follow that that would be a driver that could possibly lead Putin to the table?
Sarah, yes, and their economy's
Thank you.
struggling now.
Thank you. And we also know, I saw reports this weekend that it is said that possibly Russia and China, which I know you can't comment
That'll bring
on,
Putin to the
are
table.
actually helping Iran, whether it is targeting our troops, funding, and other mechanisms. So a thing that we could all agree that ending that would be helpful. I want to just echo Senator Kennedy's comments that I think the sooner we can get this bill on the floor and passed, it'd be huge with regards to Russian sanctions. Also want to just talk briefly about the dysfunction.
Pete Hegseth don't like that.
So my question is for you, Mr. Secretary, and you, General Kane. I would have to think that our adversaries, and I believe that we need to fully fund our military, making sure that our warfighter is the best ready, trained, and equipped across the planet. I think we have an obligation and a duty to not only meet the needs of the moment, but to also look at what's to come and be preparing for that. You talked about an insurance policy. You talk about what we need to do. Then now is the time to do those things. But I would have to think that the dysfunction of this body, whether it's the full shutdown, a partial shutdown, not being able to pass NDAA, not being able to pass FISA, I would have to think that our adversaries look at that, and it gives them a little bit more credence as to what they're doing abroad. Can either one of you comment on that?
Yeah, it's because we're not passing the bills.
That's why I've said, and I will continue to say, that the inability to properly fund this department, the Department of War, is probably the single greatest.
Even though they've gotten everything they fucking want.
We will make a generational investment in not just winning the wars currently, but deterring the wars of the future. Given the step change in technology of this moment and the underfunding of the previous administration, you didn't mention continuing resolutions, which is a whole nother way our department has foolishly budgeted. So I appreciate you highlighting that. It's very true.
Yeah, and General Kane, question for you. Obviously, a shutdown is a terrible thing for the Department of War and the men and women that you oversee. But I would assume that a CR is not much better. Can you comment on the effects of that?
Ma'am, the department's done a lot of work to bind together founders, funders, and fighters as we look to the challenges that we face in the future, and a CR would hurt badly the effort to properly arm the joint force.
I hope we can work together to do the right thing. Thanks. The people are depending on it.
Senator Schatz.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Secretaries and General, for being here. I want to start by paying my respects to First Lieutenant Tyler Feehan of Eva Beach, Hawaii, who was among those killed in Jordan this weekend while serving our country. His courage,
Everybody hit the like button on the stream. Check in. Let me know where you guys are watching from.
reflect the very best of our
We're watching the Pete Hegseth beg for 1.5 trillion to continue the war in Iran.
and remain.
It's live, so we're reacting to it today.
Secretary, about 190,000 people in the state of Hawaii, believe it or not, voted for Donald John Trump. And I know a lot of them, and I represent all of them. And one of the reasons that they were enthusiastic about Donald Trump, and you, Mr. Secretary, was they thought that we were going to have a new foreign policy. And that I think, I'm paraphrasing, but I think you characterized yourself as a reformed neocon or some such thing. And people were pretty thrilled about the idea that we were going to, that America First in their mind.
Right. Tell them.
Meant that we were going to not do this kind of adventurism. And so I don't want you to answer me, I want you to answer them. And I want to walk through the sort of stated objectives of this war at the outset.
What up, Long Island, Florida, Wisconsin?
We now have a younger and more radical regime. Depleting, eliminating their conventional missile capability. It's true that we've depleted their conventional missile capability. It's also true that anything the Department of War sets out to do, it usually succeeds at. So the question is not, do we kick ass? It's when do we decide to use kinetic engagement to extend our power across the globe. And it's clear that Iran still retains enough conventional missile capability to attack our bases and our interests in the region. Now, it's true that the Blue Water Navy is destroyed. It's also true, and you know this, that the IRGC has something that you may not call a navy, but it's got capabilities to touch us with drones and missiles and lay mines in the Strait of Hormuz, preventing their nuclear capability. It's also true that if you bomb the crap out of a place, they're going to have less capabilities by the end of it. But it's also true that we have not eliminated their nuclear capability, and whatever duration we've set them back actually pales in comparison to the, and I'll say it, the Obama nuclear deal, which we did without having to put our people in harm's way. And then the last objective, which has become a new objective, is open up the Strait of Hormuz. But the Strait of Hormuz was open before this war started. And so you tell my constituents why this war is going so well.
I think you did accurately portray me as a reformed neocon, and members of our generation in Iraq and Afghanistan watched administrations on both sides try to project some remaking of a society in the image of America that spent thousands of lives. I mean, in Iraq.
And that's not what you're trying to do in Iran?
I don't know the exact number, but tens of thousands between Iraq and Afghanistan, men and women.
What a fucking
President Trump said,
bullshit.
we're not fighting stupid wars like that again.
Oh, like, yeah, this one's not stupid.
Been trying to remake Iranian society, but simply in a realist, America first way,
Wow.
ensure they never have a path to a nuclear bomb, full stop. And he has said as a candidate, and he said as a private citizen.
No, he said no new wars. No, he didn't. No, he didn't say that on the campaign, actually. Nope.
In perpetuity.
Nope.
So President
No,
Trump
he
planned on
didn't. He
fighting
no, he
wars
didn't.
differently, and we're
No,
doing
he
so
did not.
overwhelmingly.
Nope.
And he was very clear as a candidate that Iran can never have a nuclear capability.
No, he never even mentioned that. He just said no new wars, period. I watched every Trump rally, every single fucking one.
I think we're understanding the
Dying through every single one. He never even talked about Iran. He said no new wars.
We're basically at a stalemate.
We're done.
Says the Strait of Hormuz is closed, and we say, well, we got a naval blockade, and we're just going to see who blinks first. And the truth is, in order to sort of change the balance here, change the equation here, some kind of escalation would have to be considered. And if you're taking that off the table, then we are in a holding pattern. And I go back to the original 5 objectives, and none of them have been met. Some of them have changed, but none of them have been met. And with gas at now 4,
You guys want to listen? You can go watch this without me.
90 today, up from 72 weeks ago. Gas up about $1 nationwide, about $1.50 in the state of Hawaii. People want to know, why are we even doing this?
Literally.
Senator Fisher.
Does he get to answer or no? Okay, I guess not.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
No answer.
Secretary Hegseth, I appreciated your perspective on the focus on the 4-year war in comparison to a 4-month war with a nuclear adversary. And I thought it was very well said. Thank you. If we want to support Ukraine going forward, I think the best way to do that is to dramatically increase munition production. And we need more interceptors. We have to be able to move forward. So do our allies and our friends. And let me emphasize that this supplemental does that.
Wow.
This is what we're talking about
Wow.
today. It's one of the things that we're
Wow,
talking about.
does
As
it?
a member of the Armed
Is it?
Services Committee, one
Holy
of my
fuck.
priorities for over 5 years now has
Jesus,
been
dude.
on munition production.
Jeez, dude.
General
Wow.
Kane, what happens if Congress doesn't fund
No,
this
it doesn't,
$21
Cheryl.
billion
Stop it.
request for additional munitions?
It doesn't.
Well, ma'am, there's been a lot of work done by the department to partner with the private sector. I'll acknowledge some of the efforts that the private sector is doing to utilize their own capital to facilitate factories. If we don't, as a team, figure out how to properly fund the department, then, we're not going to get the munitions, and there's going to be a lack of shared risk between the federal government and the private sector. And I think we're at a point in time in our history where we need to partner. We need to find the ability to share risk. We need to be better sellers and buyers on both sides in order to make sure that the young all-volunteer force has the weapons that they need before they are asked to go do something.
What you're saying is we need to be prepared as a country.
Yes, ma'am, and I hope, as I said in my opening statement, that we will find a way to make sure that we seize this moment in this time in history to ensure that we've got the right mix of munitions, high, low scale, autonomous.
What's your plan B if the supplemental doesn't pass?
I hope it better not. It better not fucking pass.
We will always figure things out. We will always have contingencies. We will always determine a way to create multiple simultaneous dilemmas for adversaries around the world in order to create time for us to do the work that the Congress and the department needs to do.
This bill better be shut down.
A number of times in our posture hearings on armed services and also in classified briefings, we don't have a lot of time, do we, sir?
No, ma'am. That's why I said, if not now, then when? And if not us, then
who?
And I truly believe we're at one of those moments.
Oh, we're at the
history where we have
crossroads.
a choice to make, just given what I see on the next couple ridge lines.
Wow.
And I encourage us to move forward.
Wow.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, how would this request scale munitions production and be able to accelerate our delivery times?
In the past, previous administrations would send the same amount of dollars into trying to encourage companies to build another factory and add an additional shift. What this munition request does is fulfill
more work
deals that our department have cut with these companies. First, multi-year procurement, where these companies that make SM-3s or Patriots or THAADs or Tomahawks.
It was a priority for our NDAA a couple years ago.
Absolutely. And you have provided that authority, multi-year procurement. And now those companies are spending $4 billion, $5 billion, $3 billion on building their own new factories that then produce 2x, 3x, or 4x the amount of munitions than they did in the past, and they paid for it. So actually, in this budget, which is $21 billion, as you mentioned, it saves $18 billion over the FIDIP on munitions because we're buying munitions at today's cost and not at 5 or 7 years from now when we will also get them.
Wow. Holy fuck.
We're running out of time.
Holy
we also
fuck,
have the request includes
I
$4.1
hate
billion
this
for our
system,
space-based
all of it.
capabilities, and that includes the AMTI and our space data network capabilities, and these really underpin the long-range kill chains and allow our warfighters to detect. And
It'll save us money because we buy it now and not later.
So, Mr. Secretary, what's the
What,
risk
bro?
to the joint force if we delay these programs until?
I wish it worked that way for buying a house in today's day and age, but they
not being able to sense before
gotta have $500,000 for a house now.
one of our capabilities, and which means falling behind in the domain of space, which means falling behind at every other domain.
Great, thank you. And General Kane, do you have anything to add on that about why Congress can't wait? I think you make such an excellent.
Who is this evil?
No, ma'am. I'll stick
loser
with the that I offered.
Secretary Rollins, thank you for your focus on year-round sale of E-15, for taking care of the horrible disasters we've had in Nebraska. We appreciate you coming out. And I have a couple things more, of course, that I want to bring to your attention, but thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Secretary Rollins, the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center in Maryland is one of the crown jewels of agricultural research in the United States. And my question is simple. Can we find some time to get together in the coming weeks to discuss the situation there?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Yes.
Let me turn to the Iran war. We recently
They just
lost
have her
3
there just because.
heroes. That brings the death toll for American soldiers to 18. 1 is still missing. Hundreds have been injured. That's on top of the civilian death toll throughout the region that now stands at several thousand, including the over 150 people killed in the bombing of an elementary school in Minab in Iran. Meanwhile, the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Gas prices today in the United States, again, spiked above $4 a gallon. And that will also continue to push up costs for groceries and other things that families.
MAGA supports this. They love
Secretary
that.
Hegseth, you said in your opening statement the best way to ensure peace is to prepare for war, and I agree with you about deterrence. I would also submit that the best way to ensure peace is not to start wars, because wars are a lot easier to start than they are to end. General Kane, I heard your testimony saying Iran will continue to be a challenge. And I think it's pretty clear that that is, in fact, the case. And General, in order for you to develop a military strategy to accomplish a particular objective, you obviously need to know what those objectives are, right?
Yes, sir. It all starts with what is the political objective, and from that we derive military objectives that support whatever that end state.
And as you say, that is a political objective.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Secretary, you've talked a lot about winning. You've talked about winning in your testimony today. You've talked about winning throughout the Iran war, and we all like winning. But I think the American people deserve a definition of what it means to win in Iran. Because this war has dragged out for a lot longer than certainly the President of the United States indicated.
2 weeks or whatever, right?
The President said on March 24th, and I'm quoting, "We've won this war. This war has been won." Do you know what the President meant?
Do you know what winning a war means?
March.
Well, Senator, I would just note that militarily, I mean, Iran has been completely overmatched and crushed from the beginning, militarily. Their capabilities are nowhere near ours. I would take issue with your characterization that we started this war. Iran started this war 47 years ago, and they've killed
47 years,
including our brothers on the battlefield in Iraq. Iran has been targeting us for a long time.
Secretary,
relax. Relax.
Let me just ask you this, since you said that what the President meant by his statement on March 24th, I think that we had sort of defeated Iran militarily. But that is not the entire objective of this war. I don't think there was ever a question about whether the United States, with its superior military, could destroy a lot of Iranian assets, military assets, or other assets. That was never a question. But when most people think of winning the war, they think that that means the war is going to come to an end because we've won. And the President said back in March that we'd won. So I guess my question to you is, how are we going to define winning? I hear back in March, you said about the Iranians, and I quote, "Whether they will have a ceremony in Tehran Square and surrender, that's up to them." So my question, Mr. Secretary, reopening the Strait of Hormuz is necessary in order for us to win, right? That's just a simple yes or no question.
You asked me what the overarching objective is, and I would say ensuring Iran never has a nuclear weapon. That's been clear from the President from day one.
Every day it changes.
That hammer was undertaken.
My hammer.
Their nuclear sites. That's why we're watching their nuclear sites. That's why that was a part of negotiations, ensuring that the next generation of Americans don't have to deal with an Iran that wields a nuclear weapon.
Since that's what you're leading with, Mr. Secretary, let me just say this. You said after Midnight Hammer, and I'm quoting, "Our bombing campaign obliterated Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons," unquote. Clearly, that is not the case based on your testimony today. It's also a fact that the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, testified in front of the Intelligence Committee that it was our assessment that Iran did not intend to restart its nuclear program. The President of the United States, just about a week ago, said Iran has committed not to develop a nuclear weapon, which of course is a commitment they've made for many years. We need to enforce that. That's what we are doing under the JCPOA. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Senator Rounds.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Rounds.
I had the opportunity to serve as governor of South Dakota for 8 years. During that time, we deployed over 5,000 young men and women into harm's way. National Guard members from South Dakota. I attended their departure ceremonies. I attended their welcome home ceremonies, and I attended 31 funerals. One of the main reasons that I decided to come to Washington was because I never wanted to see young men and women going into harm's way again if they didn't have the best leadership, the best training, and the best equipment possible. Now, this body, the Senate, with regard to the Iranian war, to date, this body has chosen not to impose war power limitations on the president, nor have we pushed for the withdrawal of forces from the theater.
Thanks, Suzanne.
I think the decision to take out Iran's nuclear program and their missile production capacity was the right one. And it should have been done a long time ago. But when the president did that, we also assumed that there would be risk involved. And when you put young men and women in harm's way, you want to do everything you can to make sure that you get in, you get the job done, and you get out. I think that's what we talk about. Now today, it has been since February that we now have the Iranians that are shooting back. We haven't finished the job. I think the question that the American people have is when the difficult decision comes, because I don't think diplomacy is necessarily working, and I think most people would say we've got more issues in front of us before this is complete.
Damn.
For General Kane, when the time comes and the president is asking for the decisions about the options available to him to appropriately end this war favorable to the United States and to take care of this problem permanently, are you prepared to provide him with the appropriate options that he is going to have to make a decision to choose from?
Sir, I always provide the president with appropriate options and risks that he can choose from.
And those options that he will have to choose from will cost money. And that's our role here. Because if we don't do it right, young men and women die.
Yes.
The question to you, sir, is this. You've offered a supplemental request, and I recognize that it's part of a $1.5 trillion overall. But is this enough money to get the job done? Or is this going to just get us far enough until we've got to come back in here? And in the meantime, we may very well not have these young men and women out of harm's way yet. That's my question.
Sir, I want to first start with recognizing your 31 fallen from home and mourn their losses.
With
We
words.
carefully consider the use of military force every single day. And the most important thing that I do is make sure that the president and the other leaders understand the risks and carefully consider the Dover test, a place you've been many times. And that is, are we willing to go to Dover, as we will tomorrow, to bring back the fallen? I can't answer the question on what it will cost because the enemy has a vote. What I'll commit to you as this plays out, we'll make sure that the Congress is informed. But because I'm not quite sure how this is going to play out yet, it would be unwise for me to comment on what a future cost may or may not be, depending on what they choose.
Then, General, you will provide a plan to Congress at whatever the appropriate classification level is on what resources are required to execute what the president's intent will be to successfully end this conflict.
Sure, I will always make sure that, as we have, that we're moving data as appropriate to Congress. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me come back in just in terms of follow-up on this a little bit. Some have criticized Operation Epic Fury for expending many of our munition stockpiles. Were our munitions, the inventories of those munitions, and the capacity of our munitions industrial base sufficient for great power competition with near-peer adversaries like China prior to Operation Epic Fury?
Epic Chungus.
Secretary Hegseth?
You almost said it.
Senator,
Epic
as I laid
Fortnite.
out, because of the previous administration, funding shortfalls, munitions transferred to Ukraine and not replaced, and then ignoring threats, it built a lot of risk that requires this kind of investment. So you'd look at the 67 billion alongside the remainder for 1.5. That's the kind of generational investment that not just matches peer adversaries but far surpasses them, which I think is your expectation, having been to those ceremonies, which is mine, having been to them and going to them, is that we give everything possible to the warfighter that they deserve.
Senator Heinrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. General Kane, our military is the best in the world, and so I don't think any of us should be surprised with the technical execution of its attacks on the Iranian regime's forces. They've been flawless. What I don't want us to confuse is flawless technical execution with long-term strategic success. And I think one objective that is relatively modest, because it puts us back to where we were when we started this, but nonetheless is incredibly important as a critical objective, is that I want to see the strait open again, and I want to see it open where shippers can transit that strait without being extorted by Iran. And I would love to see that before our commercial and other oil reserves are exhausted because of the impacts that will then have on the pocketbooks of American families. Is that a reasonable objective, and is it one that you share?
So I'll defer on the military objectives to the political leaders who set them. What I can tell you is U.S. Central Command is working hard.
I don't want to opine.
Iran cannot terrorize the southern flank down there, and they're doing so every single day and night. And you and the rest of the Senate would be proud of the actions and activities for the forces that are down there. The character of war is changing, though, like I said in my opening statement. And so there's a variety of mixed munitions that are down there coming at the commercial traffic. But I would like to be clear and unambiguous with you and the rest of the Senate and the Iranian forces. They have a choice to make, and they should knock it off.
I have no doubt I would be
knock it off.
Incredibly proud of the actions of our service members in this conflict. And I hope we can achieve that kind of strategic objection on the timeline that obviously avoids the worst impacts of the limitations of commercial oil supplies right now. Secretary Rollins, I want to shift gears. One of the things that you mentioned in your opening statement that we appear to agree on is that there is simply too much consolidation in a number of agricultural sectors. You mentioned fertilizer and seeds, but in particular, I want to talk about the meatpacking industry, because in a previous Trump administration bailout, about $90 million went to the corrupt Brazilian meatpacker JBS. I think the Congress really intended those funds to go to American ranchers. So I want to ask you, what are you going to do this time around to ensure that the proposed relief dollars that we're talking about today, that those funds go to American producers?
We promise. Trust us.
Foreign corporations who have created the business model where ranchers bear the risk and meatpackers reap the profits.
Oh, he's right there.
And we're obviously at a 75-year herd low. There are a lot of reasons for that, but working to solve for that. Number one, the Department of Justice is investigating right now significantly the four, but especially the two foreign-owned. Number two, USDA is investing significant funds in deconsolidating packing and supporting mid-size and smaller packers around the country. I know that wasn't your question, but just to answer the bigger question, which is a really important one. But from my perspective, what the Trump USDA 2.0 has been hyper-focused on small and mid-sized farmers and ranchers. We have worked really hard on the $40 billion that has already moved through to make sure that that goes to where it is intended, which is not multinational foreign agricultural corporations.
I very much support the efforts of the Department of Justice. I think there is a very important antitrust case to be made here. At the same time, I've watched as your department has rescinded 3 important rules that were put in place to protect farmers and ranchers from unfair practices by the large meat packers. Those rules were supported by the American Farm Bureau and the National
Thank you, Clown Baby one.
Explain that discrepancy to me.
Which rules? I'm not
The
tracking.
inclusive competition and market integrity rule, the transparency and poultry grower
Basically, are they getting the money?
rule, and the poultry
Yeah,
grower
easy, got you.
systems and capital improvement
Are
systems.
the American farmers getting money that you're appropriating for them?
We are executing an additional review on that. I think that the point is very well made, that sometimes that inures to the benefit of the larger corporations. As I have begun to make a larger case and a more vigorous case in the importance of deconsolidation, we'll be taking a second look at that. And I would love your input.
And I would very much support deconsolidation. Thank you.
Senator Hegseth.
It's like they can say, oh, the corporations usually get all the money, but then they don't.
Here today.
Nothing changes.
In my brief time in the Senate, I've learned that we're really good at embracing our oversight role, but oftentimes there are many people who don't want to do their jobs in terms of funding the government on time and actually doing the work that we're supposed to do as appropriators. And I'm not for blank checks. I believe everybody should be
Except for this one.
But I also believe we should do our job.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah, we got to do this one, though.
a supplemental funding request that we're discussing today. We're waiting on getting an NDAA done. Despite the chair's best efforts to facilitate forward an appropriations process, there's question of whether that will get done on time in September. And my question, start with you, Secretary Hegseth, just to talk a little bit about what the consequences of failure, what this really means to not do this on time. Because I've talked to defense contractors. I, as a former executive, a member of an executive branch, I know that the legislative branch often thinks, well, no matter when we get this done, we just wave a magic wand, we pass the bill, and it all magically happens. But
that's how Trump sells it.
It takes time for people to, you have businesses out there.
That's what Trump said with the big, beautiful bill.
Who don't know if they're going to get paid. They can't plan. They can't staff up. They can't order the equipment. They can't do any of these things unless they know that the money is actually coming. So what are the consequences of not just doing this, but doing it on time in a timely manner?
Senator, thank you. I think the consequences of dysfunction in funding this department put at risk I think a first time in 25, 30-year reform effort to change how we do business as a department. We're going to war with the Pentagon bureaucracy because the bureaucracy existed to defend just a few systems.
Which ones? Which companies? Which ones?
We need all of American industry coming into our department. And if you talk to industry,
the same ones that they're getting the money.
What our deputy secretary and our department are doing right now to run fast at speed. But it counts on this body and others funding this department in a way that can fulfill the deals that we're cutting, that saves the taxpayer tens of billions of dollars and gets weapons to warfighters years and years faster than we ever have in the past. So without the funding, we put at issue all those deals, all the reforms, all the ways in which we're changing our department to move at the speed of business. So it's not just dollars and cents. It's demand, it's predictability, it's showing industry we will meet you at this moment. And if we can't get past our dysfunction to fund the warfighter, we put a lot of that at issue.
General Kane, same question from a military point of view, not knowing when the funding's going to come and us not doing our job on time, what are the consequences to the warfighter?
Sure, I'll just add to the Secretary's comments, it'll manifest itself in a range of ways, readiness, capability, munitions, training, cyber, unmanned autonomy. This is why I'm really asking for the Congress's help here, for us to look forward at the next couple ridge lines and to be thoughtful about the moves that we make here. And I understand the environment that we're operating in right now. But whatever structure the legislature and the executive branch determine, we need predictable capital, my investor hat on from my previous life, so that we can go out and procure the capabilities that we need before.
Yeah, you suck at it. You suck at it.
And those things are changing. The advancement of small drones and things like that, we're going to have to make sure that we stay very close with the Congress so that as technology develops at a speed that we haven't seen before, that we're staying very close.
Sounds like Trump.
With the Congress to enable us to adaptively use that capital with the appropriators buy-in so that we're arming the force properly.
Well, I can tell you in interacting with the people who are that want to build these new generation of weapon systems, because I think you would agree that we've learned a lot from Ukraine. We've learned a lot from this conflict about how we were underprepared from the standpoint and from a defense standpoint, and that we have to continue to modernize our system, the weapon systems. I think it's very important that we not only do our job, but we do it on time, because you cannot run a Department of Defense, run businesses who are supplying these things without knowing if you're actually going to get funded. Because the whole supply chain, the workforce, everything gets held up when we don't get our jobs done on time.
So, yes, sir. I used to work in the private sector for a company that was headquartered in Piqua, Ohio, and those leaders told me your entire job, Dan Kane, is to deliver quality parts, or in this case, weapons, on time with shorter lead times and lower costs. And part of why I'm so passionate about this is because I see how this capital, if the Congress chooses to give it to us, will manifest itself in real combat capability, lethality, and survivability for our joint force.
Thank you, and thank you, Secretary Rollins, for coming to Ohio, meeting with all of our ag leaders.
It was great.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Gillibrand.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Secretary Hegseth, you're requesting billions.
Can we get some real questions?
Supplemental funding for a war that you said would last for.
Everybody hit the like button on the stream if you guys haven't.
The president has no plan or ability to end. At the same time, this still unauthorized and extremely unpopular war
Subscribe.
has caused gas, diesel, fertilizer, and other essentials that New Yorkers and our farmers need across the country, and has become much more expensive. So how do I go back to New York, and what would you say to them who are seeing their health care bills rise because massive cuts to Medicaid?
Affordability.
They've seen their grocery and gas bills rise, and this unpopular and unauthorized war abroad is a higher priority to this administration
There we go.
than their ability to feed their families
Finally.
and provide health care to their loved ones who are sick.
Yeah.
Well, Senator, you're talking about political trade-offs, and our job is to deliver for the United States military and the President of the United States. And we look at the cost of a nuclear Iran, and we want to prevent that for future generations. And that requires funding and supplementals and this budget and next generation capabilities. And that's why we're here today, to request some of that to ensure we can ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon.
So you're essentially saying, you're asking for literally $1.5 trillion for a war that President Trump said he already won. You're asking for $1.5 trillion, unlimited money for bombs, but insufficient money in for the American people, for their health care, their food, their housing, and our farmers, Secretary Rollins, who we have cut SNAP program.
Oof.
We are not funding the losses from emergencies that have happened in blue states, particularly when we had frost.
That's not true.
False, you're not funding it. But back to you, Secretary.
Dang.
And I would like to respond to the fertilizer and
Have
gas.
your chance, Secretary Hegseth.
There's no reason to be rude.
You are.
No reason to be rude is
unlimited
crazy.
money for bombs when people can't feed their families. And I don't know how this administration intends to defend those decisions to the American people.
Not unlimited bombs, Senator. I'm asking for the right bombs at the right time to ensure we can deter our adversaries into the future. And that's how this is a generational investment. And it was the previous administration.
Biden.
This
So
department.
upset.
They
The
didn't
reason
fund
why
it.
they are so upset with you and this administration is because the words you have used in the past don't add up. About Iran specifically, you said that we had obliterated, quote unquote, Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. The president made the same claim. Yet 8 months later, in February of 2026, the president launched an active war claiming Iran was within 2 weeks of having a weapon.
2 weeks.
When you say two very different things, the American people don't know who to believe or what to believe. They just know they can't afford their health care, they can't afford their food, they can't afford housing, and our farmers are continuing to suffer. So, which is true? Was it obliterated or wasn't it? What's the status?
The nuclear sites under Midnight Hammer were obliterated, but
Okay.
the Iranians foolishly continued to attempt to pursue nuclear capabilities, which is why we destroyed their defense industrial base and so many of the other capabilities to make sure they can't get to a nuclear weapon. See, we're staying laser focused on the objective.
Are you?
We're trying to make campaign commercials.
No, we're
and
not.
That's fine.
So listen to this. You also say that you made the missile program, quote, destroyed and made combat ineffective, quote, Iran's entire ballistic missile production capacity. Every company that builds every component of those missiles has been functionally defeated and destroyed, and that the missile program, existing stockpiles were depleted and decimated, almost completely ineffective. So why are there missiles left to hit Jordan and result in the loss of life of our brave men and women?
As we stated from the beginning, the Iranian defense industrial base is effectively gone.
It's effectively gone now.
The world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, and they've spent 47 years trying to hide their missiles under mountains, just like their nuclear capabilities, because they would like to get a nuclear weapon.
You just don't know what version of the war to believe, because it's either over or it's not over. It's within 2 weeks or it's not 2 weeks. We have no missiles or we have missiles, and that consternation is why so many New Yorkers
another big word.
Perplexed, stressed out, and find this war to be incredibly unpopular because they
Mic
don't
drop.
understand the choices that the president's making. They don't agree with those choices.
Hell no.
Secretary Rollins.
Cooked his ass.
You have cut over 160,000 New Yorkers have been kicked off SNAP. What do you have against hardworking New Yorkers, children who need SNAP, and seniors who need SNAP?
Well, first of all, diesel is down under Biden versus today.
Biden.
481 versus 480.
Yeah, first of all,
Is down from
alternative
Biden
facts.
484 to 386
Wow.
today. Fertilizer is down 56% from Biden highs.
Prices
Biden.
are higher than when
that
you
you are
took
using.
office.
Well,
all of those prices are higher than when you took office. So you're not
That
making
is
life
not
better
true.
for
That
New York
is not
farmers.
true, Senator. And let me tell you what New York is stressed out about is the fact that your state is taking prime farmland and turning it into a solar farms. That is absolutely inexcusable.
The
For
New York
you to
farmers,
stand-
you will see
I have visited
that
the New York
smart
farmers
farms do
two
both.
times.
Do both.
Two times in
Senator's
upstate New
time
York.
has expired.
Does she really blame solar power for why
Thank you, Madam Chair.
the fertilizer and beef and everything else are costing higher?
Country and,
What a fucking loser.
security. And I think it's easy for the public to understand.
Why did you bring the agriculture lady there again?
Mr. Hegseth, your contribution in the position you're in general, Kane, the position you're in, but some don't understand the position that our Secretary of Agriculture's in. I gave a presentation a couple of years ago when Senator Rubio was over here in the middle of it. I was talking about agriculture. You punched me and said, John, always tell them that food security is national security. Now Senator Cotton, who's head of the Intelligence Committee now, is taking his place. He's doing the same thing. So again, what we're talking about today is very, very important to our country. Right now, we're in a generational crisis. Our banks, our economists tell us that if we don't start doing things differently, and the good news is the administration is doing things differently.
Yeah, Booze Man is the right name for this guy.
Farmers in the next 2 or 3 years. I visit almost daily with farmers about the difficult farm economy, wildfires, flooding, all the things we've talked about today. My only concern is that the supplemental is very much appreciated. After hearing the testimony today and the concerns, we might need to look at bumping that up a little bit. But again, we'll discuss that later.
More money?
The supplemental, though, the supplemental assistance is important in keeping our farmers going, but it's not the answer. Will you just reiterate again what we're trying to do? We're trying to give farmers a bump, an edge to keep going until the programs that we're putting in place now kick in. You mentioned fertilizer, you mentioned E15, you mentioned value adding our products, both overseas, finding new markets. Can you talk a little bit about that, the importance of...
George doesn't agree either.
But again, what we're doing in conjunction with that so we won't have supplementals in the future.
Thank you,
That's
Jonna.
exactly right. The effort to bring the cost of inputs down is real. Fertilizer, seed, labor, interest rates, et cetera, number one. And if we can just get inputs back down to where they were in Trump 1, we're going to have a remarkable recovery in farm country. But then you add that to the 19 new trade deals, more coming online every day.
Coming online.
Breaking exports that we're going to see in a lot of our row crops, but also in dairy and tree nuts and others. That's going to be a game changer. Then you look at expanding the domestic market, as you talk about, whether E15, obviously all of the biofuels. We've already seen corn and wheat hit record highs, or the highest number for the year after announcing the new renewable fuel standard. So we're seeing some pretty incredible movement in the right direction. Then you marry that to all of your work under the Working Families Tax Cut Act, the new reference prices that under the last administration couldn't get a farm bill. You all did that with the president's leadership. The first time we're going to increase reference prices in more than a decade, combined with a $250 billion investment in rural America, the largest investment in rural America in American history. This Congress did that with the White House's leadership. All of that together is going to change the trajectory for the long term of farming and ranching in America. But to get to that point, that's why this supplemental is so very, very important.
Madam Secretary, I have a letter from Farm Bureau that I want to put into the record that just outlines requesting relief to sustain America's farmers and ranchers. Secretary Hegseth, General Kane, one of the things that we're concerned about is that in the military construction aspect of things, we're really not asking for that in the supplemental. I know that the success of Operation Epic Fury, particularly for our missile interceptors and short-range aircraft, really basing was a large part of that. Can you tell us how we can help you, again, try and plus up our military construction in some way so that we're not going to be faced with this in the future, trying to double up?
Senator, I think by Congress finding the ability to meet up to close to our the totality of $1.5 trillion means we're not making the kind of trade-offs this department has made now for decades. Those are the types of things, construction, maintenance, that fall off when trade-offs occur. And so you dig the hole even deeper. And what this budget does, first of all, it fully funds the UPA list, which is the unfunded priority list of PACOM, a priority theater, and then it gets at every single substandard barrack that we have across the department. So we're funding the military construction in a way that we've never done before to get out of the hole that we've had for a while.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
What a bunch of nothing.
Thank you, Senator Bozeman. To the very patient Senator Baldwin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair. And thank you for appearing before our committee today. To many I represent and to me, this supplemental request is another example of this administration's misplaced priorities. Instead of spending tens of billions of dollars more for this president's war of choice in Iran, that both houses of Congress, I may add, have voted to end absent explicit authorization by Congress, we should be focusing on the needs of American families. We could invest this money to accelerate new cures and treatments for cancer and Alzheimer's. We could use it to help more families with rising home energy costs. We could use this funding to help more families afford quality childcare. We could use this funding to help more kids get free school lunch. We could use this funding to restore health care for working families. We could use this funding to support our public schools and special education. This is a war of choice, and every dollar spent on this war is a dollar not spent helping families afford housing, health care, groceries, childcare at home, investing in the opportunities for the American people. First, I want to express my condolences and my respect for the 17 American service members killed in this war since February, including 3 over the past few days. Their lives are the price this country has paid for this war. The deadliest day for U.S. forces was on March 1st, when an Iranian drone struck an Army facility at Port Shuaibah, Kuwait, killing 6 soldiers and injuring more than 30 others, including soldiers from Wisconsin. Soldiers from the unit stationed at Port Shuaibah told reporters that the facility
And Minnesota
did not have adequate air defense capabilities.
Wow.
These soldiers and their families.
So where is that money going to?
Sent into harm's way without the defenses they needed. Secretary Hegseth, what would you say to those soldiers and their families?
First of all, that we honor
Fake
them and
news.
recognize their sacrifice and what they've given. I've been in touch with at least one of those families on a regular basis and understand the pain of losing a loved one is unfathomable, which is why we greeted them at Dover, and we'll greet those again tomorrow. I would say in talking to Admiral Cooper, the CENTCOM commander, before all of this was undertaken, maximizing defensive capabilities, mostly by moving as many people as possible off the X, which we did in historic fashion, moving almost 90% of Americans in theaters off of where they could be a target, first of all.
So
Bunkers that they would move into, early warning.
On Fort Shuaibah, and I will quote from the Washington Post article of July 12th. Shuaibah, this is a quote, Shuaibah did not have any of the systems that would take down the one-way attack Shahed drones, and initial security assessments found that the base was not adequately protected, end quote. Soldiers at Port Shuaibah have also been quoted in news reports saying that requests for additional medical and drone defense systems were denied prior to the conflict with Iran beginning.
That's weird. Would you keep asking for more? Yeah. Yeah, when you're asking for money for all this.
I would confer with Admiral Cooper, but there were not a single drone or defense request denied at any level that I'm aware of. We did everything we could to move heaven and earth in every single location to protect every single American we possibly could.
An article from July 12th, Washington Post also quoted a soldier saying that the unit's request for an Eagles drone defense system was denied because of lack of assets. That's an end quote.
That's crazy. So where is this money going?
U.S. Army Central has conducted an investigation into that attack. Do you commit to releasing the findings of that investigation publicly, yes or no?
We'll get you the status of that. I would argue if it was a resource constraint, that's precisely why we're having this hearing today, to speed up systems to the battlefield, to warfighters as fast as possible.
Warfighters don't get that.
It needs to be faster. The reforms we're undertaking will do that.
That's your special forces, literally.
I will
but even they
work with Admiral Cooper to make sure it's handled
have
properly.
restrained budgets at times. At times. Right now they don't.
Secretary Hegseth, I traveled to Walter Reed Military Hospital and met with soldiers who were
Regular soldiers get hand-me-downs.
What they told me confirmed what other soldiers have said publicly, that most of these soldiers injured in the attack did not receive proper medical care in Kuwait, in Germany, or during their initial days back in the U.S. The U.S. military has been fighting wars in the Middle East for 25 years. Why was proper medical care not immediately available to these soldiers, and why were they not immediately screened for traumatic brain
Because that's woke. Because that's woke. That's low T.
I'm not taking issue with the characterization of individual soldiers, but I would argue that every effort was made to provide every level of medical care possible, understanding how CENTCOM operates.
The senator's time has expired, and there is a vote on Senator Capito.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your service. I want to begin because the last time that I saw you, Secretary Hegseth and General Kane, was at the Pentagon when you honored Andrew Wolf, who was attacked here in D.C. in November, and then the honor that you have given to Sarah Beckstrom and her family, who lost her life that day as well. I know that you've been in constant contact with Andrew and his family, and you also know that the great faith that they have in the Lord above is what's really brought them to the point where they are now. So let's keep them all in his prayer. I am interested in Senator Baldwin's question because I do have a soldier from West Virginia who is making a very similar complaint. So whatever follow-up we can do, I would like to do that. I'd also like to recognize the 3 most recent service member that we lost, because we talk about them as service members and soldiers, but I haven't heard them say their name, and they're so young. First Lieutenant Tyler James Freehan, Private Isabella Gonzalez, and Sergeant Michael Swinton. You will be, I guess, greeting their families and unfortunately their caskets as they come forward tomorrow. So my question is, we've heard a lot about why we shouldn't be voting for this supplemental, or questions as to, is that really necessary, or why? I guess my question, General Kane, is what's the consequence of not passing?
That's what you've all asked.
Hitting us most.
Every Republican except for Kennedy has asked that literally same question. I'm going to come at this a different way.
Most significantly,
oh my God.
In military personnel related matters, we'll figure out how to pay.
It'll be a world-ending situation.
That would be a strain. Operations and maintenance.
Every Republican has asked that same thing, except for Kennedy.
To take some of this capital and wisely invest it in future combat capability and things like AI, UAS, counter UAS, hypersonics, and space.
So not only would it hit us today, but it could hit us tomorrow as well.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. I actually view this as forward-looking. As we look at the future picture and the various risks that we're facing, the supplemental and the budget, frankly, help to ensure that we are properly arming the joint force for the myriad of potential contingencies that we face in the future.
Thank you. So as we look at one of the, I think, best successes under your all's leadership at the Department of War has been the fulfillment of the recruitment in every branch. I remember last year, I think, or maybe the year before, only the Marines could brag that they had made their records, and now I think that the other branches you're far exceeding what has previously done. So that tells me that American young men and women want to serve their country. They want to be safe. They want to do the right thing. So how does not funding them, and if they think that
not funding, this money isn't
be short, or we're going to have a continuing resolution,
you are so full of shit. None of this money goes to the salary of the soldiers.
I think, in terms of not just
oh my God,
but the force of the future. And Mr. Secretary, I'd ask you to answer that question.
Please stop.
In a brass tax sense, this $1.5 trillion budget in its totality sees a 7% pay raise for junior enlisted, 6% for your NCOs and junior officers, and 5% for senior officers. So it's a significant reflection of the value we place on top of the other increases that Congress has provided them. If we were to have to, and we're going to do right by the troops, we're going to make sure they get paid, but it's going to put strains on training and readiness and all the other aspects of O&M over time,
you ain't getting fucking nothing
down to the unit level.
It doesn't.
You're saying we're focused on training and readiness and lethality, but we have to cut back.
I served in the big army or whatever. That shit doesn't hit nothing.
That's discouraging at every single level.
Hell no.
And when young men and women join us, we want them moving immediately into the training pipeline at the highest possible level with the best possible equipment.
No.
And they've seen that thus far, and that's led to historic recruiting momentum.
Momentum.
Yeah, and I would say that
momentum, guys. How it's momentum?
If this is troubled waters here and lack of confidence, which we see on the other side of the aisle there, and questions that I think wouldn't be asked if it were not of a political nature, we're going to chill our recruiting efforts here for our young people as they look forward to serving their country and becoming that patriot they want to be.
You're right. We'll return to the valley under the Biden administration, where not only did they not meet the goals, but they had to lower the goals and then didn't meet the lowered goals. And then now we don't have the readiness we need as a force.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Secretary of Agriculture. I'll get to you another time. Thank you.
Senator Murphy.
Yeah, our regular soldiers get fucking none of this money ever.
People either didn't want this war from the start or were deeply skeptical of this war because they have seen this country make the same mistake
over and over again.
Wars in the Middle East, and that is to create either unrealistic or open-ended objectives. You said in March that the United States was, quote, on plan to defeat destroy and disable all of Iran's meaningful military capabilities at a pace that the world has never seen before. Obviously, as we've discussed here today, that objective has not been achieved and is not going to be achieved. Iran is more adept than even at the start of the war at hiding their capabilities or repairing after damage we have done. There's an open report that when it comes to their missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz, 30 of 33 are still operational.
I wouldn't believe all the open reports, Senator.
But I've also heard you say in this hearing that the objectives now seem to be more limited than they were at the outset of the war, that this is about reopening the strait and this is about dismantling their nuclear capability. And the president, of course, has said himself that he thinks Iran has a right to a missile program. So my question is pretty simple. Is it correct that it is no longer a war objective to destroy all of their military capacities? This is what the president has said. Have our goals been simplified to reopening the strait and to getting into a negotiation over a nuclear program? Now, I don't think you have a realistic plan to do either of those things, but I think it's important for us to know what we're funding. Are the objectives much more limited today than they were when you made that statement in March?
So I think the objectives have been consistent and clear from the beginning. And I would contrast it to North Korea, where a conventional buildup was used to hide a nuclear capability that eventually evolved to a point where it couldn't be contested. And what Iran continued to do, even after Midnight Hammer, was try to build that conventional capability to dare anyone to stop them from pursuing nuclear weapons. So getting after their conventional capabilities, missile launchers, defense industrial base, their Navy, was all part of it, ensuring they can't blackmail us into pursuing a nuclear capability.
And
laser focused on Iran will never have a nuclear capability. That's the promise the president has made and that he will keep in every way.
I think it's important. It is still a war objective, either through military action or through a diplomatic agreement, to destroy and disable all of Iran's meaningful military capacities, including their missile program.
As far as all, when we talked about that from the podium at the outset of this, we were talking about their defense industrial base. And if you look at the metrics of their ability to make more, that it's been overwhelmingly destroyed. Not everything, but overwhelmingly.
Oh, but Trump says it's all destroyed.
Underground bunkers because they're a terror state. Sure they do, and we've acknowledged that from the beginning.
Yeah,
but their capacity is less today than it's ever been.
They obviously have significant capacity to effectively disrupt the entirety of the Middle East and oil flows out of the Middle East, and that's not going to change. Let me ask you one more question. This is a request for supplemental funding because you don't have the funding in your base budget to do what you need to do, which makes questions about the base budget relevant. There's been a lot of attention, Mr. Secretary, on the modernization of a luxury jet that was gifted to the president by the government of Qatar. Reports suggest that maybe as much as $1 billion in your base funding, an extraordinary amount of money, has been used for an upgrade, and the plane is back in the shop for a second upgrade. As far as I can tell, never before has an administration not made public the amount of money for an upgrade or a construction contract on a presidential airplane. Obviously, we don't need or want disclose the details of that upgrade, but never before have you withheld from Congress and the public the total amount of money.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
There are two really important questions here. One,
what is it?
Will you make public the amount of money that you are spending to upgrade this plane? And two, can you commit to this Congress and this committee that the president isn't going to take this plane with him when the only thing more insulting to the taxpayers of spending money on a jet they don't need would be for the president.
Yeah, of course he's keeping it.
To take it out of our military.
Of course he is.
When he leaves office.
Duh.
Say the Air Force has done an incredible job making that a capable jet. That ultimately, but its capabilities and investment are classified and shouldn't be talked about in public.
That's not what I'm asking.
Considering the security of the President of the United States.
Will you disclose the amount of money publicly?
I would imagine as part of the regular budget process, that's something that we would look at.
And will you commit that the president will not take?
Well, you have to look at the classification level of certain things that are not devolved for reasons of.
He's keeping it. He's keeping it.
Will you commit that the president will not take this jet with him out of federal inventory when he leaves office?
That's not a decision for necessarily me to make. And all
Wow.
to have it in the fleet for the Air Force to protect.
That's crazy.
That's deeply
Senator,
That's fucking wicked. That's wild. That's not for me to decide. Trump will figure it out. That's wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh my God.
Welcome to the hearing today.
I apologize. Is Senator Ossoff still here?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Hopefully. He'll at least say something.
Went out of order, Senator Ossoff.
I'll yield my time to Senator Ossoff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for your testimony. And General Kane, let me just begin by expressing on behalf of all Georgians our immense gratitude and admiration for the service members who are making tremendous sacrifices and conducting themselves with extraordinary selflessness and professionalism on behalf of the United States and our state's unified condolences and grief for the families of the 4 killed in action and our hope for a swift recovery for the nearly 100 wounded over the last 2 weeks. And thank you to you for your service to the nation. Mr. Hegseth, you're requesting roughly $68 billion for the department through this supplemental, correct?
67, yes.
6-7.
And yesterday, your department stated publicly, quote, U.S. forces struck Iranian military command centers, maritime capabilities, missile and drone launch sites, and air defense systems to degrade Iran's ability to continue attacking commercial vessels. That was a press release from your department. Is that a broadly accurate characterization of ongoing operations?
That sounds broadly accurate, yes.
On day 14 of this conflict, Mr. Secretary, day 14, nearly 5 months ago, you stated that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. That was on day 14 of the war. Was that an accurate statement?
Wow.
They didn't have a Navy any longer. It's completely sunk. Their missiles were buried underneath a lot of their underground facilities, and their defense industrial base has been almost completely destroyed. So as far
Almost
as
completely.
military assessment of Iran's capabilities, it doesn't.
Now it's almost
by any
completely.
stretch of the imagination, absolute zero. But their
Mr.
capabilities
Secretary,
at the lowest level
you
they've been in a
stated
very
that
long time.
on day 14 of this conflict, in the second week of the conflict, you stated that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. Was that an accurate statement? Yes or no?
Yes or no?
Iran's ability to challenge the United States of America at the level at which we're capable of.
That's not what I
That's
asked.
not
you,
the-
Secretary. You
that's-
said on day 14, Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective.
Right.
Yes or no? Was that an accurate statement?
Right.
What the American military has
Will you
done.
answer
to
the
the
That's
Iranian
not the
military is a
answer.
Historic military
Will you
defeat,
answer the
and they're
question
ineffective
under oath?
in that context.
Consider it. Consider answering it.
3 weeks later, you declared victory. That was now nearly 4 months ago.
Damn.
3 weeks after you'd already said Iran's military was destroyed and combat ineffective, you said, quote, Operation Epic Fury was a historic and overwhelming victory. You said Iran's military had been rendered, quote, combat ineffective for years to come. And you stated we
He's
had
calm with it, isn't he?
achieved every single objective. Were those accurate statements?
It certainly was, on behalf of the men and women in uniform, a historic military victory.
On behalf of the men and women in uniform. Wow.
Military been rendered, quote, combat ineffective for years
Jesus.
to come. That
They
was a
had
statement that you made 4 months ago.
They had 160 naval vessels.
Answer the question.
Their Air Force is
Answer the question.
completely combat ineffective,
You
and they
said
don't
4
have a
months
defense
ago.
industrial base.
You- excuse me,
Describe
Mr.
to me a country that doesn't
Stop
have an Air
chimping
Force
out.
Navy or a defense industrial base, and
Mr.
I will describe to
Secretary.
you a country that does not have
Is
an
Pete
effective
Hegseth doing
military.
what
Lob
Chud the
missiles.
Builder would
Mr.
say?
Secretary, you stated
missiles,
4
but it's
months
not a
ago
combat
that Iran's military had been rendered, quote, combat ineffective for years to come. Has Iran's military been, for the last 4 months, combat ineffective?
It's been set back not just years, but likely decades.
You
considering
stated
you
we had,
can't
quote,
build
Everything's a
what the legislature
projection.
did before and not
You
even
stated
close.
we
It
had,
doesn't mean
quote,
it doesn't have capabilities.
Mr. Secretary, you stated we had, quote, achieved every single objective. Was
Every
that an
single
accurate
one.
statement 4 months ago?
The main objective of this was to ensure that
Rimping
Iran
out. I like
had a
that.
nuclear weapon.
In the
Their
ditch.
main sites were obliterated. We're watching over them and
I like
holding
that.
issue. If they don't give them up at the table, there's other ways we can take them
Early
away.
in the conflict
Iran will
on day
never have a
3,
nuclear
Mr.
weapon.
Secretary, early in the conflict, day 3, you said one of those core objectives was to, quote, destroy the missile threat, and as you restated on day 5, to, quote, obliterate Iran's missiles and drones. Those
What
were
is it?
clearly and repeatedly stated core objectives of the campaign, which 4 months ago you declared had been completed victoriously with every single objective achieved. Were those objectives achieved 4 months ago?
Oof.
No one ever stated that every single missile was gone. Ultimately,
Whoa.
effective means they're not able to dig them out of their
Wow.
UPS and shoot
Had
at
the
us.
missile
It
threat
doesn't mean they
been
don't
defeated
have
4
underground
months
facilities
ago?
where they put missiles in them and hold on to them because they're the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism. So we never expected they would stop having capabilities to shoot. The question is at scale against an opponent like the United States of America, which went toe-to-toe with them and Iran couldn't.
You stated on March 8th, day 9 of the war, on 60 Minutes, you assured the American people of Iranian surrender. Does that remain your prediction?
Ultimately, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon in the United States of America. That has been the objective and it remains so.
So just to review, you will not answer
Little defensive, isn't
your
he?
statement made on the 14th day of the war that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and made combat ineffective was a truthful statement to the American people as you sit here and ask for tens of billions more for the conflict.
Senator's time.
Cooking this guy.
Historic and effective military campaign against the largest state sponsor of terrorism.
Won't
and will
answer the
ensure they
question.
never
Senator
get a nuclear
Peters
weapon, Senator.
is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And,
Boy cooked him calmly.
today. I want to begin by first echoing my
Ossoff cooked him
colleagues'
calmly.
comments, that we've heard throughout the hearing here, and join them in mourning the loss of American service members who were killed in action these last few days. My thoughts are with their families, with a service member who remains missing, and with all those injured during the strikes. And I will continue to pray for their families. Secretary Hegseth, over the course of the war with Iran, I have repeatedly expressed concerns regarding the administration's lack of a winning strategy and repeated contradictions about the state of the war. Frankly, it doesn't help that you and your president continues to mislead the American people.
Damn.
You and the president have repeatedly said that the war, as we've heard over and over again, is almost over or already won.
2 weeks.
In fact, the president alone has said the war is almost over more than 30 times.
Lying.
On March 1st, the president said, we'll be done in 4 or 5 weeks. On March 9th,
Diabolical.
he said the war was very complete. On April 8th, he declared total and complete victory, 100%, no question about it.
None.
On the same day, you declared Operation Epic Fury was a historic and overwhelming victory on the battlefield, a capital V military victory by any measure.
It wasn't.
And yet today, July 21st, we have soldiers whose remains are sadly going to be returned
George
to their
agrees.
deeply grieving families tomorrow. Clearly, the war is not over yet. After months of conflict, our strategy to win remains unclear. I have long said the United States has the strongest military in history in the world, and I have no doubt that our brave service members can execute any mission and prevail in any battle. But without a clear winning strategy, we're at risk of being in another forever war that'll put our service members in continued harm's way and continue to cost taxpayers billions of dollars.
Billions.
Secretary Hegseth, despite your failure to win this war, you are back now before Congress asking for almost $70 billion in additional funding. You're asking the American people for a blank check because, once again, the Trump administration's efforts have been an utter and complete failure to win this war to this point.
Failure.
So my question for you, sir, is
down, George.
how is your strategy different than what we've seen in the past? So far, we have not seen a strategy that's been successful. You mentioned nuclear material as the primary goal of the war. It still exists. We haven't dealt with that issue yet. You talk about the destruction of missiles, and yet the missiles that we saw hit recent targets are actually somehow more lethal, more deadly, more maneuverable than what we have seen in the past. So they're obviously improving their munitions. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed, reminding everybody it was open before the war.
Exactly.
Prices were lower for
now it's
everybody
closed
until the war, and it still remains closed. And of course, tragically, people, service members, our war fighters, who we care deeply about, are still dying. So what's different? Mr. Hegseth. So,
Well, we've weakened their
characterization of this incredible effort as a failure is reckless.
That's wild.
And I think it's irresponsible. And I think it smears the sacrifice of the troops that are out there making on behalf of the American people to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon.
Wow.
Shame on you and others who call this a quagmire and a failure, and then you want to turn around and say you support the warfighter. Either you do or you don't.
That's
wild.
I can get you a ticket out to CENTCOM and talk to what those Americans are doing, and how committed they are to this effort, and how they want to ensure that Iran never threatens their families with a nuclear weapon. That's the kind of intensity that our warfighters have about making sure that Iran isn't capable of doing that.
Secretary Hegseth, if you listen to my comments, you would have heard me say how amazing our warfighters are.
I heard failure. And the word heard, I heard exactly what you said.
I will tell you how I use the word failure, because I use the word failure to the
For you. Yeah, you.
Are the failure, not the men and women who are on that front line, not the men and women who hold up their honor with distinction. But if there's a lack of a winning strategy, they're in harm's way. Their leaders have failed them. And that's what's happening. We have political leadership. You don't have a strategy. You don't have a long-term plan to actually win this war. Win the war. The men and women are going to be able to do it, but they need to have leadership. When will you show leadership?
We have leadership.
When will you show
leadership? Why don't
leadership?
you show some leadership and stand up to your fellow Democrats who won't fund the troops?
That's
stand and
crazy.
Play partisan politics while you don't give us the money. You want to stand up here and talk about the troops? You won't show any political
Secretary
courage
Hegseth.
to actually fund our department because you have Trump derangement syndrome.
That's
and
wild.
can't actually commit to anything meaningful.
Fuck this guy.
Senator.
But I can't wait till Hegseth's in jail.
You have over $1 trillion.
We got to like pay and then we can go watch him in
Not a
jail.
question of money. It's a question of leadership and understanding what it takes to actually win.
Political cowardice of Democrats who won't fund the troops.
Senator's time has expired.
That's crazy.
This will conclude our hearing.
That's wild.
I want to thank our witnesses for being present and the committee for what has certainly been for any senators who wish to submit additional questions for the record. Those questions will be due in 7 days on Tuesday, July 28th by 5 p.m. I'm going to ask the Vice Chair if she has any final comments.
I do very quickly, and thank you, Chair Collins. This was really an important discussion about the state of this tragic and disastrous war and how we should be spending Americans' tax dollars on families instead of this president's war of choice. Unfortunately, this hearing has done exceptionally little to justify the president's request or to instill confidence that this administration has an exit plan or a strategy to end the war. This war has cost us a lot. The last thing we should be doing is rubber stamping another $70 billion to help Trump keep it going. Thank you.
Well, Vice Chair Murray, I'm compelled to respond to your comments by pointing out that it is the duty of this committee to have a hearing when we have this kind of supplemental request.
And I do appreciate
It's not about the fucking hearing, Collins.
This hearing is now adjourned.
What an old fucking. She didn't make it about like, oh, this hearing shouldn't have even happened. It's not. It's about the funding and the funding request. Oh my God. Well, there you guys go. There's American politics. Right, so I've lost my fucking mind on it, and it's just cooked. But I gotta hand it to. I'll give it to Gillibrand, Democrat, Ossoff, Democrat, and Kennedy, Republican. And then I mean, Kane did good, but like in terms of actually like torching them for this shit, Gillibrand, Ossoff, and Kennedy, who's a Republican, but he did so. Holy shit. They're trying to ask for 1.5 trillion. All right. So oh my God, take the win, people. Oh my God. No, it's not a win. It's not a fucking win, dude. No, fuck that. Okay. So if you guys missed it, we posted clips. All right. So, I mean, any questions? You guys watch that. We just watch all that. You know, you can digest it. Pete Hegseth is the same thing every time. If you don't want to support our money requests, you have Biden derangement syndrome. Okay, it was the new armed forces of Ukraine. It's the guy who drove this BMP in 2014. It's a very famous video. So new commander of the armed forces of Ukraine did that. They're like the solo BMP trying to break through the occupied territories in 2014 to go fight the Russian military. So he's now in charge. Let me see what his name is. Commander of Armed Forces Ukraine. Just announced. So Siersky's out then. Yep. Siersky's out after protests in Ukraine. And they kept picking up and they weren't quieting down. So Zelensky fired Siersky as commander-in-chief of Ukraine's armed forces following days of mass protests. It's Mikhailo Deprachi as the new army chief, according to a statement on social media. Okay, so I think we can go to Zelensky for that. But, I mean, if you guys have ever seen that video of that BMP going through, he was the one in the commander. So I've decided that Mikhail Deprachi will become the new commander-in-chief of the armed... How do I say his name?
Українки. Сьогодні був ще ряд зустрічей з командирами армійських корпусів, корпусу морської піхоти, командувачем оперативного угруповання «Схід» Віктором Ніколюком. Фактично з усіма рівнями вищих командирів армії та загалом Сил оборони та безпеки України ми говорили. І бачимо загальну позицію. Апостол, Редіс, Білецький, Горбатюк, Оболенський, Бровді і інші. З багатьма говорив. Всі пріоритети та шлях модернізації управління армією проаналізовані. Перше, я визначив, що новим головнокомандувачем Збройних сил України стане
I didn't hear him say it. He said it so fast.
Михайло Драпати.
I think I was close. Drapati.
Разом з Михайлом, Євгенієм Хмарою, Павлом Палісою.
And that was one of the biggest complaints too. You hear it all the time. Was that the structure of the Ukrainian military is so outdated. It's so bad, and then they just keep creating new units without backfilling the units that already exist. And then the units that have nothing are just sent to the front. Okay, and so it needs to be in a more modernized like structure. And the biggest criticism of the now former the former commander-in-chief of Ukraine, the armed forces of Ukraine, Siersky, was that he had a Soviet-minded brain and didn't care about the troops really like that. Like he was a soldier himself, but he put victory in like holding every single meter before human life. And it was known that that was going to happen. It's been like that for a few years now. So then there was issue with Siersky and Fedorov, controversial move. Zelensky fired Fedorov, and now Siersky's gone. So I'm sure now people are going to be calling for this awakening is absolutely amazing. Oh my God, dog. I can't with this, dude. So yeah, here you go. Fedorov has to come back with Siersky, and Fedorov makes even less sense in keeping Siersky instead of Fedorov. So there you go. So that's what's going on in Ukraine. There's a lot of internal drama, but now you got more drama because Laura fucking Loomer is in Ukraine. Okay, and this is so bad. Okay, so she's done a complete 180. Okay, she's done a complete 180 on Ukraine, I guess. Okay, and we can go. Where is it? She just kind of starts. Key post is pro-Trump influencer Laura Loomer says she was wrong about Ukraine. Okay, here's her post. Let's go back to here. I guess the video of her going there would be like the first one. So thirsty. Now she's going at Kash Patel. I don't think she got enough money from the hierarchy of MAGA, and now she's got to pick them apart now. For Israel, probably. Tucker Carlson. Where's her first post? Okay. Where's her first post? This shit's so dumb. I don't know where her, is it the first post, the video that she has pinned? Okay, whatever. So anyways, if you don't know Laura Loomer, she is literally a white nationalist, Zionist, literally the slop of MAGA. She is literally a MAGA operative. And even in her posts, it's like everything is appeased. Everything is about Trump. Did I save it? This is insane. So basically what I've learned from this is like you can literally, because Laura Loomer didn't just have opinions. She didn't just have opinions about the war and was like, oh, you know, I kind of support Russia here. No, she literally worked for the Kremlin. She literally worked for the Kremlin and wrote articles for RT, like during the height of the war. Look forward to your, but look, now she gets to go back and forth with Simonian for Russian content. I'm not in Russia because I'm not a propagandist, but you are though. But you fucking are though. I'm not siding with this at all. This is sick, dude. That's what this tells me. That tells me you can literally be the enemy and then flip. And then people will welcome you because people are fucking thirsty as fuck. There are people that actively need help now. Let me know if you and your team needs anything. Have a fantastic time, Laura. Welcome to Ukraine, Laura. Did you like the trains? And then, of course, this guy, of course. Welcome to Kyiv, Laura. Welcome. Oh, yes. Yes, literally the bane of evil. Mouthpiece of MAGA. Literally did Russian propaganda. And was paid by Russians. I delivered this fucking cuck's multiple of this loser Jake Bro's vehicles from Kyiv to Kharkiv in 2023 and 2024. Literally drove vehicles, his fucking channel fundraises, because his channel does a good job of fundraising help and support for Ukraine and the vehicles that they need. And in 2023, the Enforcer YouTube channel, because they kept saying the Kerch Bridge was getting shot down, and I said, no, it's not. It's not destroyed, unfortunately. They did multiple videos where they said the Kerch Bridge was destroyed, and I did a video in multiple streams saying they're fucking liars. So they did a lawsuit against me, and also were able to successfully apply 3 copyright strikes on my YouTube channels for going over, like, again, through fair use, reviewing their content and showing how they're lying. They applied 3 false copyright strikes on my fucking channel, and it only took for me to be loud about it, and I just so happened to be in Ukraine at the time, and a Ukrainian manager at YouTube was able to remove those strikes from my YouTube channel. That's how I got lucky. Otherwise my YouTube channel would have been gone, and I would have to start over in 2023, and everything I would have built up. And all I was doing at the time was trying to get fucking attention for that, and like, hey, can somebody in the pro-Ukraine space help? Can you guys get some attention on this? And then also like the Enforcer channel, that's like a fucking grifting YouTube channel that laughs at Ukrainians that are fleeing from the war. And like, and then, oh my God, they make jokes during the entire fucking broadcast about the war the whole time. And then I mean, it's just sick. So then this fucking loser, because I spoke out about it, and he didn't like me speaking out about it. Okay, he did not like me speaking out about it at all, and he made it as if I was like trying to beef with YouTubers, and it honestly became an entire thing. And that's why I got a faction of the pro-Ukraine audience I used to have, and I'm so glad that I broke out of that, and I'm doing reporting on the fucking streets in the United States, and I kind of walk in my own path, which I was doing to begin with, and then I had to be a part of this fucking Chungus slop grifting supporting dog shit, okay, for like 4 years, and now I am so glad. I am just fucking beyond it now. I am so glad, because this shit was such horse shit, because I nearly lost my entire channel, and I'm like, yo, there is a pro-Ukraine YouTube channel that's fucking I need help, please. And it was like, no, Mercado's content. And he said it, we had the video. Mercado's content is just arguing with YouTubers and nothing else. But yeah, we can take time and be so happy for Laura Loomer arriving in Ukraine. That's good. Yep. Welcome to Kyiv, Laura. Go fuck yourselves. Go, like, all of you. Everyone that's welcoming Laura Loomer, go fucking... I'm not on your team. I'm not on your team. I'm not. If you are happy that Laura Loomer is in Ukraine, gonna start doing pro-Ukraine shit, and she's now having a fucking epiphany of everything, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. And you can unsub from my channel too. Okay? This is so fucked. That tells me that I should have been pro-Russian the whole fucking time. And I should have influenced for Russia during all of Biden. And then I should have just waited and timed it out. And then I can now, and then at Ukraine's like time where they need support and help. And then, oh, actually, you know what? Oh, I was wrong. I was wrong. Should have taken Russian money and everything, I guess. They were handing it out. They were fucking giving it out to everybody. They were giving millions of dollars of they were giving millions of dollars of money to Americans to fucking shill their own propaganda. It ain't fucking gossip. Goodbye, leave. This ain't fucking gossip. Okay? Shout out to my actual fucking supporters. I don't give a fuck. Goodbye. This shit is insane to me. That this is like acceptable and tolerable. That Laura Loomer can fucking like literally 180 reverse, and then 2 years into Trump's presidency. And for me, I believe it's directly because she's trying to influence for Israel, and she needs to be able to connect that pro-Ukraine audience because a lot of them support fucking Israel. And she's going to draw that in, and she's going to use this war and this conflict to draw people into supporting Israel and like the goals that they have there in the Middle East, because Laura Loomer is a fucking Zionist and she supports Israel. She gets called on it all the fucking time by her own people, too. Russia targets American businesses in Kyiv. Iconic McDonald's endures repeated attacks from Russian ballistic missiles, proving Russia's disdain for America. And this is sick again. You can do this. It was so obvious to anyone with a functioning brain that this was happening 4 years ago. And we all watched it on live stream. This is the most bullshit story. And I've been unfollowing pro-Ukraine accounts left and right. I don't give a fuck. People that are like excited about Laura Loomer being in Kyiv. It's fucking sickening, it's pathetic, and it's desperate. 3 days ago, Russia launched 40 ballistic missiles into Kyiv, Ukraine, striking districts in the Ukrainian capital, the oldest McDonald's in Ukraine. Underscoring the human and symbolic cost of Moscow's war. And McDonald's in Kyiv, Ukraine's very first, opened in 1997, has become one of the most resilient symbols in defiance of during the war. The restaurant has sustained damage at least 7 times since the full-scale invasion began, most recently from blast waves during a massive strike on May 24th, 2026. Its 29th anniversary, workers sheltered safely despite the structural damage and holes in the building from shrapnel. The restaurant opened days later. McDonald's represents one of the most recognizable American brands globally. It has become known one of the symbol for U.S. entrepreneurship. Is it? Is it the symbol for you when we have to pay fucking we can't even do a $5 menu anymore? The dollar menu's gone. McDonald's costs ironically like as much as a regular meal does. Fast customer service. What when they're automated fucking with their with the touchpads now? There's McDonald's that don't even have workers there anymore. They're like in there cooking back there, but there's no one taking your order no more. Its golden arches stand as post-Soviet emblem of openness and Western integration into Ukraine. In stark contrast, McDonald's no longer operates under its name in Russia after exiting the market in 2022. Yeah, when you were fucking lying and you were doing Russian propaganda and everybody that was honest and telling the truth and fucking got shit on by you and others like you. I don't know. And then plus she's continuing to further MAGA. There's no reality in which you'd like side with this whatsoever. Because she went and then she goes, I don't eat fast food. Where is it? I don't even eat fast food, but I had to take this picture. This was written with ChatGPT. Keep McDonald's is not collateral damage. It's the deliberate targeting of a society trying to live normally and free from communism. Yes, we love Laura Loomer. Oh, man. We're so desperate. We'll take anyone. Oh, Laura Loomer's a communist. Who's communist here? Russia ain't fucking communist. Yeah, ChatGPT wrote this. An AI wrote this. She did not write this. She did not write this. And then you go and you take model posing pictures with your fucking McDonald's. Pro-Ukrainians, yes. Yes. This is good. This is so good. Yes. She's seen the light. She's seen the light now, guys. Jesus fuck, dude. And Sean Pinner, give credit to him. He's like iffy on it too. He's like, okay, I'll suck it up and I'll suck it up. But like this don't feel right. Listen to him. I'm glad you're here because again, when you're in Ukraine, there's like a different mindset that they really need fucking help. But at the outside of it, no. I'm glad you're here. But I am told I have to be the bigger man and give you a chance. You don't. You don't, Sean. You don't. You get to pose in McDonald's for a photo opportunity while I lost my home to the very cause you helped promote. It ain't no political debate. She literally helped work for the fucking enemy. She literally helped get fucking Ukrainians killed, and you got Ukrainian and pro-Western Ukrainians in there like, oh, God. Oh, man, we're so happy to have her. Oh, boy. Holy fuck, dude. Literally was working for Ukraine's enemy, like, and now she gets to go there, and here you go. If you're in Ukraine, be careful about speaking to Laura Loomer. Do not grant her any of your interviews if possible, nor spending time with her without someone else or with you or aware you where you are, the conversation. Record every interaction. This is not simply about Loomer or accepting changes of heart. It is about preventing compromised individuals, propagandists, and grifters attaching themselves to Ukraine's post-war future and capturing the very institutions and communities Ukrainians fought to preserve. That's exactly what Trump did when he just absolutely gaped Ukraine for their natural resources to start the year, to start last year. When he was like, Ukraine has to pay us back from all the weapons that never even fucking got there, right? And then Ukraine had to pay back America for their fucking natural resources for nothing. So they were already like have American interest in there even harder. But again, you know what? I'm honestly reminded that when it like at first, when it comes to the pro-Ukraine space, like at first they were very anti-grifter right away, like in 2022. Maybe that's why Laura Loomer like quickly had to side with the Russians because they were like, yeah, and you're a grifter, you're out. Yeah, it lasted maybe 5 months. And then now, like, honestly, like, if you find a grifter in the pro-Ukraine space and you call it out, you're the problem, actually. If you find a grifter in the pro-Ukraine space that's using the war to enrich themselves and you call it out, you're the problem. So, of course, Laura Loomer is welcomed in this space. Of course. Of course she is. Why wouldn't she be? This is the perfect space for her because the pro-Ukraine space and the Western space accept it. They actually encourage the behavior. MAGA mobs, who's been a fucking MAGA absolute pain in the ass, Trump supporter, full-throated, like she's the daughter of one of the negotiators that Trump sent so many fucking times and they've done nothing. It takes extraordinary courage to admit that you were wrong, especially in public. Laura Loomer done that. And it takes even more conviction to spend your own political capital trying to help others to see what you now truly believe to be true. Yeah, let me know if that actually happens. How was MAGA in 2016? I worked for President Trump in 2020. I proudly voted for him again in 2024. Yeah, Americans want to work with people like that for sure. That's why geopolitics is so fucked. You think American politics is bad, you got shit like this going on. And because there's like an issue like Ukraine, where Ukrainians are just trying to defend themselves and live, and then the support base is so fucking dog shit at the actual high level when it comes to Western support to help Ukraine, dog shit. And then there's good individual organizations that will help, and I've shouted them out, and I've actually helped and actually put money into that, and you guys have too, and you guys continue to. So I'm not talking about any of the shit you guys support. But there's consistently, especially in 2024, large pro-Ukraine accounts like this one, or like David, or like fucking tons of them, or like the what's her name? She was in the armed forces of Ukraine, whatever, I guess, and she like fucking President Trump will be the one to. Trump is gonna. It was like two things. You had the fucking anti-war You had the Palestine, Israel. You had the anti-war left there that thought Trump was gonna no new wars that as well. They did. There was like only onesie or twosie people that were like, "Hey, Trump ain't about it either." No, there were people on that far anti-war left that thought Trump was gonna fucking help there. And then you had Ukraine supporters that were fucking thinking that Trump was gonna come in and end that war in 24 hours, like he said. And then apparently, because I live in the normal world and I live in reality, and so does many of my own subscribers, we were like, nah, none of that's going to happen. He's going to come in and absolutely just fuck everything. He's going to continue to help Israel, if not more. And he's like an ally to Vladimir Putin. He's going to like do everything he can to derail, blame Biden for everything, not be able to help, or like what we saw when Zelensky first came to the Oval Office and what they had for him and how they treated him, because that's exactly how Trump's and MAGA's energy towards that is. And there is zero reality in which, especially now in the United States, like you're going to court MAGA. Ukraine, you're going to court, remember, pro-Ukrainian audience is courting MAGA. Who already like, and then you're going to have an issue in that base because 3/4 of them don't want any money anywhere. They're against anyone other than fucking furthering white nationalism in the United States. So no immigration and no money going out to anything. Good fucking luck with that. Have fun. This shit pissed me off, so I'm losing my fucking voice. Because this is the dumbest fucking shit I've seen. Woke up fucking. Just experienced my first air-raided Ukraine, all the ones that you lied about when you work for RT. I feel like such an asshole for minimizing the struggle for Ukrainians for the last 5 years. I often said I don't care. Looking back, that wasn't very nice of me to say. Literally, again, I want to remind you, didn't just have opinions, worked for the Russians. So, yeah, and you can literally work for your enemy, and then as long as you got, clout, because she's got some followers, right? She's got power within MAGA. Oh, yeah, you're fine. Jesus Christ. This is so bad. So, I don't know. I made my point. There's no reality in which courting Laura Loomer is a good idea. There's no fuck. This is so whatever, dude. I'm trying to find the point where she wraps it up into Trump. Can't remember if it was this post. I don't think so. This was just about America, McDonald's. I thought I saved her. All the worst people. Drew Pavlou is an absolute dog shit piece of shit too. So you're making Tucker Carlson, and this is so fucked. Right-wingers fighting with right-wingers, and then people that aren't have to like deal with it. And like, why? Tucker and Candace are both on the fucking right. Drew, right-wing. Laura Loomer, far right-wing. And they're all fucking having a fighting in the mud. Or blaming and calling each other fucking, oh my God. See, this shit is so ass. This is so ass. Every name you see on this screen here is a right-winger. Far right to the extreme far right. Dude, I guess is Ukraine like actually like a right-wing thing the whole time, and I'm just like, I just can't see it, or what? Is it an operation for right-wingers? Did I fuck up? I'm sick of it. Like people that aren't, it's like I've consistently seen people that are not right-wing get absolutely fucking pushed out of the space since the war began. I'm so tired of it, dude. Whatever, dude. I'm so fucking sick of that. But it's fine though, because one of the biggest problems that we had was when we're watching Israel fucking genocide Palestinians, and then you would speak about it, and then like a lot of pro-Ukraine audience would be like, we support Israel too. And I'd be like, no, I don't. And that was like a fucking problem.
Russia.
See a lot of people making snide marks about Laura Loomer. They'll take it from JD Vance's cousin, guys. It takes a lot of introspection to reevaluate your beliefs. It takes a lot of fortitude to look at people calmly and say, I was wrong. Again, it wasn't just about beliefs and being wrong. But again, like when you're the enforcer, you can be pro-Ukraine the whole time and then grift and make like millions of dollars while laughing at Ukrainians getting fucking blown up. So, my bad. I've just misunderstood this whole thing. I've just misunderstood. This shit is entertainment. My bad. Oh, I'm sorry. I took it serious. I get this is entertainment. All right, this whole fucking thing is just fucking something for people to watch. I guess it's not, obviously. I'm just saying, like, that's how this whole thing is treated. As if it's just a TV show. Laura Loomer was working for the Russians. Like, I'm in Ukraine getting fucking hit. Like, I'm there. Whatever, dude.
Russia and
That shit's so sick. Here's my opinion about Laura Loomer, Trump and company. Their sudden change of heart. I think it's because they're trying to funnel people to support their war in Iran. They're going to connect that. That's the biggest dumb shit argument that people would make is, oh, it's weakening the Shaheeds that Russia is like hardly using now. Russia has cabs and other ballistic missiles and other shit they use, and they've been developing their own Shaheeds. But it's going to be, they're going to connect Ukraine to Iran, and they're going to say, we got to do it. That's why fucking Laura Loomer is there. Which again is just like support to Israel. It may seem like a good thing in many ways. I've always been strongly pro-Ukraine and anti-Russia. It may look like a case of the enemy of my enemy is a friend at the time of war. I cautiously welcome this sudden change, but there's always a but with these folks. They simply cannot be trusted. Period. Period. We've seen it over and over again. How they flip-flop, failed to keep their word, and manipulated their narrative. Be very careful with these people. Absolutely. The things they stand for the things she stands for mostly is antithetical to what Ukrainians are trying to fight for. That was my whole argument during Biden's presidency, why I got painted, and I got painted as a whatever, because I'm like, MAGA is not, the entire core system of their politics is not going to match what Ukrainians are fighting for. They don't give a fuck. Getting fucking, this shit is like bringing out old memories of all this. But true, Mario, yes. They don't believe like, if anything, MAGA would love what fucking Putin's doing, because that's the way they want Trump to run the fucking world. Oh my God, dude. This was the sickest thing I've seen. It was all this flood of support. On a side note of this is good. So two things are true. Good news for Ukraine with the commander of the armed forces, and this Laura Loomer thing has been the most dog shit thing I've seen. And yes, I am going to continue to unfollow pro-Ukraine accounts that are like excited about this. I'm not this. There's no reality in which I'll be on the same fucking side as Laura Loomer. Broken clock can be right twice a day, but not ones that worked for the fucking enemy. Literally, again, if you're just somebody that is just has an opinion and then you change your opinion later, that's different. If you are literally paid by a government, a foreign government, to procure propaganda that results in your people being killed, what the fuck are we doing? Thirsty, desperate, pathetic. thirsty, desperate, and pathetic on that. And shame on you if you're encouraging that type of behavior from from encouraging the grifting from others like Laura Loomer that continue to fucking ruin everything. But yeah, she's gonna go and do some propaganda in Ukraine and say good things now. She'll go say good things. So fucking, I'm so out. All right, guys. I wish I had something better to end on than that. That shit just pisses me off, dude. I should have started with that, but we started with Pete Hegseth. I guess, yeah, the good news is you got a new commander in armed forces. But, man, it's just that shit like that makes me want to associate even less with that. It really does. It makes me want to associate even less. Like, I hope for the best for the Ukrainian people, but the space you have to be in to do so is dog shit. And I'm done with that. I'm done with the space around it. Like, we'll do my Ukraine updates myself, and beyond that, like, we got people of our own that support Ukraine in my own community, but I ain't doing shit with no one. It's so done. I'm so done with that whole fucking thing. Beyond done. I think that was it for me. Honestly, I think that was it. We have a lot going on in our own streets here at home. We got this clown, which apparently Dylan Burns is good at talking about both, and the horrors that, because he came and did a documentary and also covered the ICE raids and Metro Search, and he like reports in Ukraine, and he can figure it out, and somehow he can be pro Ukraine and be in the trenches taking artillery with the soldiers, and like he does that, and he's like embedded with the soldiers, and he can also call out how bad this guy is. And in the pro-Ukraine space, there's like this, we can't say anything because we need the MAGA. And it's been like that since 2024. Fuck that. Fuck them and fuck that. I will not share a space with, especially Laura fucking Loomer. Are you out of your mind? Go guys watch Dylan Burns. He'll probably have better updates for Ukraine than I can right now, because that shit is so dumb. So dumb. There's no other way to put it. It's dumb. Dumb, stupid, drinking stupid juice off the stupid tree. That's what that is, and nothing else. Please don't encourage, if you guys are in the pro-Ukraine space and you're like, did Laura Loomer, has she turned a new leaf? No. Nope. Also, because Donald Trump's administration is so fucking bad, they need something. And when it comes to their pro-Ukraine base, as much as, like, again, I'm not going to fuck with much of any of it, except for my own that we built. We got a solid one to begin with anyways. That's the only thing where you have like a consistent base of people that are willing to continue to support like something. And so they need to suckle that energy. They need to suckle off that, because they're not getting it from nowhere else. Right-wing base is cooked. Okay, MAGA base is cooked right now. Bad, real bad. Yeah, protests in the streets still taking place. Okay, midterms are coming up, so it's desperate, and the acceptance of her is also desperate. So Trump's being desperate by sending her there, and trying to fucking now turn a new leaf on that, and then the pro-Ukraine audience that's accepting her is being fucking desperate and pathetic, and that's that. And that's what I got to say about that one. All right, guys, live again tomorrow. But if you guys want more tonight, what is it? Yeah, about 2 hours from now, 8 o'clock, for a new pair of shower shoes. Thank you, Saint Cut Off, Saint Fuck Off. Appreciate that. Like and subscribe, guys. Continue to come over to my gaming channel if you want. Mercado Gaming. We got fun stuff tonight, non-political news. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I can't wait to go see the Odyssey. I'm going to go see it in IMAX on Friday. So I'm pretty excited about that. I read the book in school, and I want to see the movie. And it looks pretty good. It's not true IMAX. There is no true IMAX screen in Minnesota anymore. It's just digital IMAX. Digital 4K, which again is not true IMAX. Got fucking I think there's one in Illinois, but I don't feel like driving 6 hours to go to IMAX. But I wish we did have one, though. We don't have we used to have a 70 millimeter screen, and it was at the zoo, and then it closed in 2019. So we don't have an IMAX, actually. And then now Chris Nolan filmed it in 70 millimeter IMAX. So the only way to see the movie, how it was intended, is to see it in IMAX. There's only 25 screens that can film it in the whole country. Shit's buns. Okay, I don't know. That shit sucks. So the movie, with the version most of us see, is not going to be unless they build more IMAX. But there's not that 70 millimeter cameras. Only certain directors will film with that, and none of them have the budget like Chris Nolan does to do it. So, anyways, I'm gonna go see that Friday in the best 4K we have possible, or the best IMAX we have possible. And the rest of you guys, come on over for Assassin's Creed Odyssey tonight. Again, that's 8 o'clock. I'm going to go eat dinner and go chill for a bit. Going to go eat dinner and go chill. And then I'll see you guys later. Like and subscribe, guys. Peace out. Take care.